And welcome to everybody. Let's do a little sound check and make sure you are hearing me and I am hearing myself. And it looks fine, so we're good to go. Welcome. Today is Thursday, February 6th, for those on the live stream. And hopefully, we also have people watching the replay. Appreciate you all for being here. If you're on the live, please join the chat. Come on into the chat room. It's nice. Otherwise, if you're on the replay, leave the comments down below. We would appreciate all of your input. Let me say hello to who is here before we start. We have a really very interesting show tonight. I don't know how to put it any other way. Hopefully you find it so. I know I found it so. So hopefully that'll be something good. Um, um, so let's see. We had Teresa, Stephanie, Scales of Injustice, Oleg Cat, Miss K, Mark Ellis, Nicole Watt, Spicy Cappy, Rhonda Holton, Asha Harry, Silly Goose, Four Pits, Judith Galloway, Truth Seeker, Scales of Injustice. We got the Prof in here, allegedly. Five Green Acres, Kelly, Lord Customs, Ninja, Warrior, Assassin. I think I'm tongue-tied. Kelly is in here. Deb is in here. Sweet Dude Shibby is in here. We have Steph Hudson. Also, my vintage shabby shop. Shabby should invite Shibby, and you'd have a shibby shabby shop. Um, we got Fur Baby Daddy. All right. Who else is in here? Digital's in here. Kayla's in here. Roby T is in here. Uh, Heavy Metal Rehab is here. Thanks for being here. What's up, Sweet Caroline? And thanks for joining the membership for the ninth month in a row. Uh, okay, 9 months. You should have given birth to some good ideas. Welcome in, Sweet Caroline, and thank you for renewing your membership. And Peaches81 is here. Um, Chris A, welcome to you. All right. Kaleida Hope. Kayla's here. Melon's here. Goddess is here. What's up, ladies? G Ray is here. Jenny33 is here. What's up, Jenny? What's up, Heather Brown? All right. Heather Brown, Silenced is here. We're also going to have, well, I know Rick Snay's watching. What's up, Rick? Lily Shaw's here. V's here. Who else is here? Judge Jessica. What's up, Judge Jessica? Dennis McKean is here. All right. Housebroken is here. Who dis? Welcome to you, Who dis? Bella's in Wonderland. What's up? Nancy Bear, what's up? Jay Lynn, Nancy Drew 101, Grandma of Six, Jessica Freeman, True Crime, and Curry Time. Well, I'm down with that. I'm a great fan of the curry. And I make a mean one. Okay. Jonathan Smith. What's up? Day Tripper. Lindsay. What's up, Lindsay? All right, who else we got in here before we get rolling? Judy's here. Okay, so boom. I think I've caught everyone. Asha Harry's here. Okay. So Steve Z Stubbs, what's up? TJ Bits, what's up? If I missed you in the roll call, just go ahead and drop a comment down below. And like I said, don't be shy. Join the live chat. Haters as well. If you get told something and get butthurt, it's your fault. Your problem. So we got a lot to do. Okay, so hopefully you find some interest in this. So there were some things in this recent state's response to the motion to correct error that I think some people have missed. And so yesterday when I was looking over these exhibits, I thought, oh my God, we got to cover this in tomorrow's show. And that's today. So we're ready. So there will be a lot. Now, I hope you've also seen that I've done some community posts on both channels. Those are for you too. So there's some bombs being dropped in the community post on both channels. Hopefully you find those interesting. And while we're doing the show tonight, I'm going to drop some of the screenshots that I'm going to show you tonight. All right, what's up? Who just dropped in here? Love v Money Y6. Love versus Money 68. All right, I see you dropping in. And Nobody Nothing 1717. Yeah, thanks for joining, y'all. So hopefully you find this interesting. Now, so there's 3 areas we're going to cover. Okay, so I'll have to do it piece by piece because it's going to be hard to really get my bearings on unless I just dive in. What's up, Mino Dino? Okay, and all right. So appreciate y'all for being here. Marianne, what's up? Okay, so let's see. We got where should we start? All right, I'll put it like this, and hopefully everyone coming in will join the chat and trying to wait a minute so everyone can get in here before we get started because I want everyone to catch it. What's up, Laura Dawson and MJ Lewis? And everyone. Okay, so here we go. Now, this is what we'll be focusing on. Okay, so let's just start off with that. So I'll give away the subject matter. Uh, Part one of our show tonight will be about this. What's up, Bonnie and Mar R, and everyone who's coming in late? Kisses to y'all. Okay, come on in late and get comfortable. So now, remember, in the past couple shows, we've gone over the motion to correct error, and then when was it? Oh man, it's hard to even remember when I do these shows. Let's see. And I guess it was yesterday or day before, I went over the motion to correct errors, the state's response to the motion to correct error. And I put error over McClellan's face, right? And I said how it was infuriating and it was even difficult to read through because of the level of gaslighting and how infuriating it was to read. But nevertheless, we went through it anyway, okay? So what I'm getting at is that this here that we're going to cover is the state's exhibit 7. Okay, so this is the state's exhibit 7, and this is a receipt for discovery. Okay, now I want to bring you all the way back. Okay, I want to bring you all the way back to the arrest of Richard Allen, October 2022. All right. And you will remember that the defense was constantly begging for discovery. Okay, because let's say the real issue here is, was the prosecutor exhibiting gross negligence, or was the prosecutor exhibiting malfeasance, i.e., exercising bad faith? Okay, because you may remember that the rules are supposed to be 30 days for discovery, and our attorneys had said that we were owed discovery in December of 2022. That was a deadline. Okay. Well, then, as time progressed, you may remember the defense filing various motions, including one saying, you owe us, you are 14 months late handing over discovery. And you remember the games that McClellan was playing, and Holman et al., right? They were saying, oh, we don't know who Jeffrey Turco is. Oh, we don't know who did the geofencing. Oh, we don't know if we'll ever be able to find those people. Oh, we don't have this. We don't have that, right? So as time progressed, there were constant denials of handing over discovery. There were the 70 deleted days. Yes, you remember that very well. And I'm rubbing that in for the new viewers. Okay, so all of you new viewers, new to the case, understanding that there's 70 days completely deleted that we have no clue about. Well, there was discovery handed over months and months late and a year late. And then so what you end up with is this. Okay, so I want to land here today on this because we just set our eyes on this Tuesday, right? This is for Tuesday. So this is the first we are seeing of this. And with all the excitement of these filings, remember, this is from the 4th, and then yesterday was the 5th, today is the 6th. So with all of these filings, we were so overwhelmed with reading the actual motions and looking at those photos of the phone, which I'm sure all of you have seen by now. And be aware, we're not finished talking about that. We'll get to it later. But with all the excitement, I think everyone overlooked this, including me, until last night. Okay. And last night, as I'm preparing for today's show, I'm going through this because I had it in the queue to check out. As I'm going through this, my head starts exploding. And I'm like, oh my God. Now realize what this is. As I'm saying, discovery handed over 14 months late. That's what this is. This is from January of 2024. All right. So everybody in the back, all the fucking idiots who are going to bitch and moan and call me an idiot and a chomo. Okay, look, last page. Let's look at that last page. January 30th, 2024, signed by Sarah and Brad Razi. Okay, and Sarah was Brad's assistant. You see? Handed over. January 30th, 2024. Let me ask you this. When was the original trial date supposed to be? Okay, so let me pull this down. Before we even get into it, rhetorical question for all of you out there, all of you good people and all of you fucking troll farm idiots. When was the trial supposed to be originally? Nope, wrong. It's going to blow your mind when you realize when this was handed over. You see, this was basically the handing over of discovery at the absolute last possible minute. Can you believe it? No. Trial was going to be January. Okay, January, February, something like that. But this is January 30th. Trial should had already started, and this was just being handed over. Now, let's take a look at this, okay? Let's pull it back up. I mean, can you believe these people? Okay, can you believe these people? Now, let's take a look at it, though. Okay, first, we're going to take inventory. Okay, so count them with me. OneDrive. Okay, that's OneDrive. One Seagate drive, right? Next one. One Western Digital, that's 3 drives. Western Digital, 4, Seagate, 5, Seagate, 6, Seagate, 7, Seagate, 8, Seagate, 9, Western Digital, 10, Seagate, 11, Seagate, 12, Seagate, 13, Western Digital, 14, Seagate, 15, Western Digital, 16, Seagate, 17, Seagate, 18, Western Digital, 19, Western Digital, 20. Right? Plus a Todd Click thumb drive. All right. So let's be sober here. 20 hard drives plus a thumb drive. It's 21 drives handed over 14 months late in January when trial was supposed to had already begun. This is the state of Indiana, County of Carroll, prosecutor's office. And notice the names up top. There's no coincidence here, right? Nicholas McClellan, Shane Evans. Okay. Now, that should be enough right there to have the feds investigate these people. Yeah, it's malicious. Yes, thank you. I'm trying to put that up there. That's malicious. And hold on. Let me also further explain. And I believe we have one of our defense investigators here in the chat tonight, and she could vouch for this because it comes from her. These files, not only is it 21 drives, okay, it's 20 hard drives. They are scrambled. They're scattered like confetti among these 20 drives. So this discovery was basically in complete disarray. Now, who took credit for doing this? Because initially I thought it was Steve Mullen. But Kathy Shank took credit for organizing the material on these hard drives. All right. So Kathy Shank, whose daughter is honor bound to defend Ron Logan, Kathy Shank, a lifelong secret society member, a family member, someone who cannot wait for her role to be cast in a Lifetime movie. They spread these all of this discovery 14 months late in a completely disorganized fashion. Okay. Now, we're going to go line by line because your minds are going to be blown tonight. I swear to God. Keeping in mind, now check it out. From McClellan and Shane Evans. McClellan and Shane Evans. Now, that's no coinkydink, bro. Keep in mind, McClellan is related. McClellan is related by marriage to the German family. Shane Evans was once implicated in this whole incident. All right. Now, so you got family and a suspicious individual. Handing this over, Brad Razi, Andrew Joseph Baldwin, Robert Scrimmin, and William Libredo. You see that? Razi, Baldwin, Scrimmin, Libredo. The following is a list of items in this physical discovery release. So why are we having physical discovery release of 20 hard drives plus a thumb drive 14 months late? All right. First drive here, Alan's jail calls. All phone calls to December 1st of 23. Inmate or text data. Okay. Alan jails calls. The evidence in this drive is Betsy Blair's Fitbit, geofences, neighborhood canvas 2017. Boy, would I like to see that. Neighborhood canvas 2019. Boy, would I like to see that. Wouldn't you like to see those neighborhood canvases? Filing cabinet scans. Scanned electronic digital copies of filing cabinet paper documents. That's all Kathy Shank shit, right? And any data in those files. The files were uploaded and current to this date. Any additional scans will be provided by eDiscovery. Okay, so what do we have here? All of Kathy Shank's filing cabinets, Betsy Blair's Fitbit, the geofences, 2 neighborhood canvases, 2017, 2019, and all of Alan's calls and text and emails. All right, and trust me, this shit's going to get real thick. Holder's 2016 ceremony from Facebook of the Odinist ceremony. You remember that one. Interviews. March 14th, 2017, Sandra Harrison interview and phone extraction by FBI San Diego. Too large for successful upload to eDiscovery. Who is Sandra Harrison? Who is Sandra Harrison? I'd like to know. First time I'm hearing that name. March 14, 2017, a month after the murders. Sandra Harrison, San Diego. Photographs. Okay, check this one. Crime scene. Autopsy. and other follow-up photos. Some photograph files were too large for successful e-discovery upload. Some of these same photos may be contained in e-discovery release. 3D rendering. 3D rendering. Commander, State Police photos of crime scene, autopsy, and other investigative follow-up. German, crime scene photographs. ISP photos, 12/7 of 2022. State Police photos of crime scene and other investigative follow-up by CSI technician name and description. Photos of Allen water bottle in interview room submitted for evidence. Yeah, that's probably because they had to do that to take his DNA since he didn't want to give his DNA. FBI trail cameras. Trail camera photographs taken of crime scene. Okay, question. You would have to assume that's after the murders. So they're trying to catch somebody returning to the crime scene. So they're hoping that the killer will return to the crime scene. So they set up trail cameras. Anyway, FBI trail cams. Okay, put that in your notebook. J. Kramer photos, FBI crime scene photos by Special Agent Julia Kramer. Police and Coroner's Report. Carroll County Sheriff, Indiana State Police, tip 74. That's the magic tip, okay? Some of the reports contained in this file are also uploaded to eDiscovery. Following the eDiscovery release, we discovered that some of the files in Indiana State Police may be incomplete or not populated in eDiscovery. Therefore, all the files in Indiana State Police were copied to this drive. Hold on. That means things could have been tampered with prior. So we discovered some of the files in the ISP folder may be incomplete or not populated in eDiscovery. So what that means, you know what it means to Prof? Because I don't buy shit. I don't buy shit they're selling. What that means to Prof is they went and cleaned shit up. They went and cleaned up some shit in the ISP folder or drive. Right? Indiana State Police folder. We discovered some files were incomplete or not populated. Something to consider. Something to consider, defense investigators. Next page. FBI reports. FBI Crisis Management Reporting Software Orion is listed on a separate hard drive. This is the latest download of Orion as of 12/7/23. Any additional information contained will be uploaded to eDiscovery. All right. Search warrants. All search warrants and court-related documents. Some files were too large for eDiscovery. See, I'm already having a problem with the resubmitting of things that have already been submitted to eDiscovery. It smells of tampering. Files from the thumb drive received from Todd Click. Okay, thumb drive from Todd Click. All right. Westville Prison, cell block video, body camera footage during contact with Allen, door sheets, other Westville IDOC reports and documents. All right. Next up, these two are very interesting too. Just like the FBI trail cam. Listen to this one. The bottom two here. Western Digital police camera at Mears Farm Gate. Early April of 2017. Another Western Digital camera at Mears Farm Gate. Late April. Okay, so all in throughout April, there was a camera at the Mears Gate, possibly attempting the same to capture any potential perpetrators returning to the crime scene. All right, this is where it gets real. Put on your tinfoil hats. Okay. Check this out. Delphi flip phone found under bridge. Delphi flip phone found under bridge. February 26th of 2017. Did you know that? There's a flip phone. We'll be talking about it later. Flip phone found in the water, but somehow it was extracted. Must have been a Motorola. Those things, you remember those old Motorola flip phones that would last fucking 30 years and you could throw them off a fucking skyscraper? All right, so we got the flip phone in the water under the bridge that apparently was extracted. All right, what's next? LG phone. LG phone. From March 11th of 2017. It appears to say Clinton, Colorado, Axiom, white chip off report, HTC white chip off report. Amazon tablet. Ooh, that must have been, you know what God's telling me? That really feels like little Abby to me. It just feels like Abby. Amazon tablet. Pink case. Liberty German Samsung Galaxy Tab. There's a lot of devices here. Samsung Galaxy Tab. Hemming. Holder. Screenshots. Holder. Samsung. Jackson. Stewartson. Cochert. Liberty iPhone exam. J. Maxwell. L. Maxwell. McKinney. Pearson. SIM card. Voorhees. Wallace. Wilbur. Wright. Young. Logan Holder. FTK Imager. What is all that shit? Interesting. Pearson, huh? You got Daniel Pearson something? His SIM card? From February 14th of 2017. So you got Voorhees, Wallace, Wilbur, Wright, Young. Who are these people? Who's Wallace? Who's Young? Griffey, ISP Peru, 2/25/17. So this is all the discovery they were trying to not hand over. Yeah, you bet your sweet ass it's the first you've heard of. First any of us have heard of it. Okay, where are we? Holder, Samsung. Jackson, Stewartson. Oh, I've already said that. Okay, we got the Kunskek warrant, which was CSAM. Okay, Liberty German, Magnet, Mobileye, Person of Interest, Anthony Shops, Bob Shude, Brad Holder, Eugene McKinney, Glenn Cunningham, Kevin Stewardson, Larry Wayne Ray, Mike Nipple, Patrick Westfall, Tower Dump, Verizon, Tower Dump, Victims, Verizon Tower Certification. How's that for some discovery for your ass? Addendum. The original drive was found to contain CSAM in the Kunskek warrant folder. These files are connected to Keegan Klein. Okay. The client extractions contained on this drive were withheld because they contained CSAM. The original hard drive is available for full inspection under supervision at our office upon request. So here's the thing. You know what? I'll refrain from giving my opinion until we're through this. Okay, next. Another hard drive. Security camera footage and photos. Look at it. Security camera footage and photos. Harvest store footage. Footage from residents of 5998 West 252 North. And David McCain's photos from the trail. So, Harvest store video. So defense has the original Harvest store video footage. I didn't know that. That's interesting. I thought they just had photos. Footage from the residents that we've seen. That's the one that captured Brad Weber passing. Okay. Here we go. We got another drive with 17 cell phone extractions. Baker, Barger, Circle, Collins, Davis, Eads, Erskine, Gurmand, Brown, Hart, Henderson, Hicks, Isley, Hewlett, Matthews, Marchand, Samsung, Slavens, Toomey, Wallace, White, and Wright. Looks like that's a bunch of the searchers, quote unquote, right? Remember how I've always said the searchers are sus as fuck? The searchers. Looks like we got all the searchers' phones. So defense. I'll refrain. Looks like we got the entire search party's phones. Okay. Here we have another one. Cell phone extractions. Unknown, DeMoss, Dillon, Miles, Derek German, Humphrey, Sandifer, Snowberger, Weber. Oh, well, you surely understand some of those names, right? That's a bunch of sus as fuck extractions, right? That I'm sure the defense has not investigated well enough. Let's continue. It only gets worse, as I always say. Here we go. Cell phone extractions. Axiom, Celebrite, Unknown, Apple iPhone 5S. You know what? I think we're talking about some of the devices that were found. Let me bring it down for a moment. You sleuthers out there, it's time for us to get to work. I think we're looking at some of the devices that were found in the area. Okay. We just went through all the searchers and then we went through some of the POIs, but there's also phones in here that don't match. They appear to be phones that were found at the scene and devices found at the scene. Remember in the recent request to preserve evidence, there were specifically named, there was a belt referenced. There were devices that were not working, not in working condition. And then it said, please preserve these devices that may or may not be in working condition. Okay, so look, let's read these again. Unknown Apple iPhone 5S. HTC white chip-off, Amazon tablet, Liberty German Samsung, Hemming, Holder, Jackson, Stewartson, co-chaired, Liberty iPhone exam, Mab, James Maxwell, Logan Maxwell, McKinney, Pearson again, SIM card, Voorhees, Wallace, Wilbur, Williams, Wright, Young, FTK Imager, Hicks. You know that name. Griffey, Maxwell, ANCF, Magnet, Delphi Miscellaneous, Liberty German, OS Triage, Pictures of Evidence and Trail Cam, Magnet Forensics, Mobilize, A. Wright, Penn Jones, Bailey, Doolin, B. Weber, Henderson, Anderson, Erskine, Dillon, Hall, Derek German, Collins, Isley, DeMoss, Johns, Lucas, Defries, Humphrey, Burkhart, Germond, Patterson, Cochert, Hart, Moffat, Snowberger, Hemming, Abbott, Circle, Davis, White, Hicks, Geary, Marchand, Wallace, T. Wright, Weber Trail Cam. Once again, sounds like a bunch of the searchers and Weber Trail Cam. Sleuthers need to get busy, and we need all of this to be released to the public so that the public can do its own work here. Phone extractions: Baller, Dunham, Gunther, Heather, Isom, Jester, Myers, Sazbella, and 3 unknown devices. How are they unknown devices? How are there 3 unknown devices that are extracted? So either you're not knowing what you're doing, or those were found devices. Okay, here we go again. Security camera video containing security video collected from businesses and residences. Now, I want you to prepare yourselves for all of the video you're about to learn that exists. Remember, we've already covered FBI trail cameras at the crime scene. We've covered the pole at the Mears farm gate. And we've covered there's some other trail cams, right? So here we go with more. Security video collected from businesses and residences. Okay. And we got security video, Hoosier Harvest Store, Library, Mitchell Mexican Grill, Pizza King, Save-A-Lot, Shell, Sunoco, Transfer Station, True Value, and Walmart. Okay, we got... Let's stop here. Sounds like they did what I was saying they should have done. Remember when I first started my channel? One of the first shows I did 2 years ago, I said they should have gone to every fucking business in that town within a 5 or 10 mile radius and gotten every goddamn security camera from those 48 hours. Remember I said that? It looks like they may have done that. And I guarantee you, if they went and they got all of this footage, those killers on this footage somewhere. Let's not be stupid here. It's just that these defense attorneys didn't know what the fuck they were looking at, okay? But you're telling me you got Walmart, True Value, Transfer Station, Sunoco, Shell, Save-A-Lot, Pizza King, Mexican Grill, Library, Harvest Store, other businesses, other residences. Come on, man. There's a bunch of, I'm going to skip over this. The last 3 here are all interviews from the Delphi PD and the Franklin Street Investigative Center. But notice the fucking glitches here that all recordings up to February 20th are deleted, recorded over, right? No detectable audio found on the drive. Are you surprised by that? So not only are all recordings up to February 20th recorded over, there's also no detectable audio on the drive at all. And then the audio, that drive goes to 8/17/2017. No audio. From February to August 17th, no audio. And then there's another one. February 25th to August 7th, no audio. You see that? Do you see? Come on, y'all, read it. the bottom 3. So there's no audio at all on the one. There's no audio at all on the other, and there's a whole week deleted. All right, on the one, and then on the Western Digital at the bottom, it's uncatalogued from Franklin Street Investigation Center. Okay. Now, how convenient, right? How convenient. Now it's going to keep going. There's more. There's more of these. There's more of these interviews up here at the top. But check this one out. Security footage from Canal Center from the April 22nd news release. Sounds like they were monitoring, just like they're recording the crime scene to see who's going to return to the scene of the crime. They're recording who's coming in and out of that Canal Center at the press conference to see who's going to come to that. All right, then there's more. Check this out at the bottom here, way at the bottom. Listen to this closely, please, because this is going to blow your mind. Think of all the information that is available to the world if we would just be able to see this. We got security footage from brick and mortar, Carroll County Jail, City Hall, courthouse, crime scene cameras 1, 4, and 6. Do you hear that? Crime scene cameras 1, 4, and 6. CVS, Danny's Auto Shop, Delphi Citgo, Dollar General Flora, drone video, the FFB ATM, FFB drive-through. We got Hoosier Harvest Store, ISP trail cameras, library, Mitchell's Mexican Grill, Office Tavern, Pearson's apartment. Okay, we got an interesting one down at the bottom, says pending collection. Does this mean it was, what does this mean? Pending collection. Do you mean you got it or you don't got it? Pending collection, Carroll County Courthouse, Delphi Public Library, First Financial, Marathon Gas, McDonald's, Sunoco, Pizza King, Save-A-Lot, Security Federal Credit Union, Shell, Sunoco Gas Station, Transfer Station, True Value, Viewing Number 1, which I assume is the viewing of the bodies, Wallman's, and Walmart Lafayette. Now, why does that all say pending collection? I don't know. Do you got it or you don't got it? And finally, another drive full of the Orion. Okay, so let me get Rick in here before we move on, but I've asked Rick to help us out here. So let's see if Rick's going to be around. Let's see. I'm posting the link for Rick. Let's see. There you go, Rick, if you're still in here. Now look at this, if you don't mind. So let's do a quick review. Actually, I'm gonna cover this later. Okay, just a moment.
Working, baby, daddy working.
Hey, Rick.
What's going on?
You there?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thanks for coming, man. I wanted your input on this stuff. So let me welcome in. Let me I pulled it up. I've gone and highlighted it. So this says FBI trail cameras, right, of the crime scene.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Got this one says pole camera at Mears. All right, and this is where I really want you in on this. Flip phone found under bridge. Right. LG phone. HTC, Amazon tablet, pink case, Libby German Samsung, blah, 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 blah. What do you think about all that?
Well, first of all, I have known for a while that they found a flip phone and that a tablet was also found. Now, remember that the rumor has always been that Abby had a phone given to her by Becky Patty. That would obviously be a phone that was, old, that Becky didn't need anymore. And that could possibly be the flip phone. But also, remember, we can't get too carried away, because since we don't know if there was anything recovered from that phone, all we can say is, it's a flip phone. But anybody could have dropped it there, and, it could have been there for years before they found it. You never know. But the other things mentioned, I had heard a tablet was found, but that sounds like there's more than one there. I mean, they said something about German Samsung, and she had an iPhone, so her phone wasn't a Samsung.
Yeah, and I do know, remember the whole story with Kelsey said blah, 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 and we collected up all the devices and brought them. So there's that whole story. But see, there's always been this persistent rumor. Well, first of all, everyone in the chat, please welcome Rick. I'm so excited that I'm just rushing into the deep water here. But there's always been this rumor that Libby had one of Becky's phones or Mike's phones. That Libby's phone wasn't working, or for whatever reason, so she was borrowing one of the parents' phones, quote unquote. Then there was a rumor that Abby was using a tablet. Then I've also heard the rumor, like you, of a flip phone. So the ideas of Libby having someone else's phone, of there being a tablet and there being a flip phone, has always been around. And and I wonder here, because if that flip phone was found in the water, how in the hell did they get an extraction off of it?
A phone of that age, the minute it hit the water, it was toast. And you're not going to get anything off of it.
Yeah. But yeah, I had always heard of those other devices, and I'm shocked here with the amount of extractions and the amount of surveillance footage that they appear to have in this discovery.
Yeah, I mean, all the trail cams you hear about. For years and years, people said, what about the trail cams? What about the trail cams? And you just didn't realize how damn many of them there were. And what about that? We heard about sometime, maybe early on in the trial, we heard about footage of someone near the crime scene that was on a trail cam. They caught someone on a trail cam. What happened to that?
Where's that trail cam? That's right, because that's not one of the FBI's. That would have been one of Ron Logan's, most likely.
Yeah.
And then you've got, what happened to you mentioned in here is Brad Weber's trail cam.
Yeah. Yeah. Which Brad Weber's trail cam most likely would have been, well, it depends where he pointed it. Because he would have had to kind of point it at an angle for it to catch the crime scene. But, if he put it where I thought, the logical place for him, which would be at the top of the hill, I don't, it's a mess.
It's a mess. And here's where I'm getting at. Now, I didn't say this yet. I know you were watching, but I guess what my takeaway is here with this particular dump of evidence is there's absolutely no way that the defense team or their couple, 2 or 3 investigators could have ever handled all of that or even known what they were looking at, because they don't know the 7 years of backstory to this. So I'm thinking, in all of that, I bet you out here in the open source world, us folks who know what to look for, we could probably dig up some pertinent information on those drives. I mean,
yeah,
if you got 30 or 40 surveillance videos from around town, and we know who was driving what vehicle at what year, at what month.
Oh, yeah. I mean, think about it. How much volunteer help did the prosecution get? I mean, if we could have had a volunteer army working for the defense, but unfortunately, when you need the time of someone like a Stacey Eldridge, you got to pay for it, because, that's why they're in existence, basically, so it's hard to pay for, Stacey did express to me that she wished they had more funding to go a little further. But unfortunately, they were kind of stuck.
I think that, and it's just so like Gull and McClellan are absolutely giving the middle finger to the FOIA request. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
And
do we
why do you
expect
think that
anything
is?
else?
Why do you think that is, people? I mean, they don't want us to see any of this. They never do. But I want to put this up from Lindsay because I agree with you, Lindsay. I think we're talking about the belt that's mentioned is for one of the girls. I don't know if Abby or Libby, but I think the belt that's referred to belongs to one of the victims. So she says, belt found on the bridge concerning because of marks on Abby. Yeah, I agree. Possibly.
I think if the belt was used, it was more than likely used as a restraint of some kind. Um, because we know they weren't strangled or anything. So, but also, I'm not sure. There's been that picture that's gone around forever of the belt laying on the ground, and they say that was recovered at the crime scene. But I think what we have to remember about that is that, to me, it looks like there's a little too much green for that to be February in Indiana. So I don't know if it's an actual, if it is a real picture or not of, something discovered under the bridge. But, I would need to have some kind of independent confirmation on it.
Yeah, no, speaking of pictures, you and I talked about this. Now, so these pictures that just came out a few days ago of the phone. So what I did, so the first thing my eyes told me, there's a problem with the exposure here. And so I thought back to this story that phone case is supposed to be pink. I'm sorry, red.
Red,
So I
yeah.
said, let me try to turn that phone red using the filters and the settings. So I started altering the colors and the exposure. And as I tried to manipulate it, I found a conundrum, Rick. You cannot turn that phone case red no matter what. I could not do it. But oddly enough, I was able to turn it pink. So as I'm manipulating those settings, and I tried and tried for hours, I'm able to turn that phone case pink, but not red, which tells me that phone case was never red. It's not red. So the whole story we've been told all these years, it's not adding up. That's either a purple or a pink phone case.
Yeah.
And another thing for you viewers out there, I was also able to pull out blood in the photo. Okay. So if you look carefully in one of the photos, that's the furthest away. As I was manipulating the color profiles, I was able to pull out the color of blood on some of the edges of the toward the edge. So I believe that the device is under Abby. They roll over Abby and take the picture, and there's a little blood, a very trace amount. It also seems to me that picture may have been taken with a flash in the evening. So that's why the colors are so difficult. But I lined up, what I did is I took the crime scene photos and I tried to compare and contrast. I cannot tell. Like, the leaves look similar, but I cannot tell from the context that, though I cannot see the specific leaf or twig or whatever next to Abby. So there's a little strangeness with those photos. That's why I posted them here. But no, I was able to turn it pink, but not red.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, I'm not sure of course, because I wasn't in the courtroom. Are these the photos that were shown to everyone in the courtroom? Because my default setting when it comes to Nick the Mick, I can say it, I'm Irish, folks, is that he lies and likes to manipulate and create evidence, because it's all he's got. So I wonder if, that's actually the phone, because I had heard a long time ago, like you said, we heard about a tablet being out there somewhere. But we also have heard for years that Although Abby didn't have a phone that we know of, she had a tablet that she would use that used to belong to Libby. Now, is that the Libby German Samsung thing that they're referring to there? Is it still registered to Libby German? You know how you put your name in there and shit? You know, so I don't know.
There's oddity to it. I would like
recover that.
I think everyone needs to continue to look. From my understanding, that is the phone that people saw in the courtroom as as part of the crime scene. But my whole deal is, what I like to do is when I think back, like I said, over these 7 years, what we've always been told and how there are anomalies in what's coming now, and it's just feeling like the description of the phone that Libby had is not adding up with what's being seen in those photos. And
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a consensus maybe that we can come to.
If you remember the old iPhones, they were kind of square, sort of. They weren't shaped like those curved, contoured corners and stuff. They were kind of square and, about that thick. So, I mean, I'm sure, I can't remember if the iPhone 6 was still that way. Because I think maybe the iPhone 6 was either the 5 or the 6 was the last one because I got, started with the original and went all the way up through. And I switched to Android right around 6 or 7, but I'm not sure which.
Well, I'm going to disagree with Judge Jessica here. It could be a rose gold, but the thing is, there's a case. There's a case. So that pink or purple or lavender, whatever color it really is, that's like a slimline case that's around it. So it would be really hard unless you peel back to see if it's rose gold or not. But all I know is this: it's not red.
Well, it was said to be a Harry Potter House Gryffindor cover.
A what?
And a Harry Potter House Gryffindor. That would be the theme from the Harry Potter stories. And House Gryffindor, their color was red, I keep wanting to say like a burgundy red, not really a real bright red or anything. But I mean, you can find it online, look up the flag or the crest or whatever. So you would think if it was a Harry Potter House Gryffindor case, then there's a good chance it was that color red. Not necessarily, but it's a good chance.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too hung up on it. It's just those were like I said, what I was trying to do is manipulate it. I was trying to make it red, and I just couldn't. But I could make it pink, or I could make it burgundy or whatever. But what I did notice is I was able to pull blood out of the photo of one of them, and I thought that was really important because we've been told that Abby had a small amount of blood on her back of her sweater and it appears to me in the photo you can see a little of the denim of her jean or whatever as she's turned over in one of the photos, and it appears that there's a little blood you can see, and so what I tried to do is make that the color of blood. So I tried to make it an accurate blood color and then see what color the phone ended up. And when I did that, the phone case ended up as kind of pink. So I thought that was interesting, but I don't want to get too hung up on it. Let me think while you're here. What should we see? I did another one. Okay. Okay. I thought this one was big, man. Let's see. Let me pull it up and I'll read it for you. Let's see. So this is regarding Judge Diener writing the safekeeping request for himself for Tobe Lesenby. So it says here that this is from the defense saying Mr. Allen has a right to have a judge other than Diener decide the safekeeping order at Lesenby's request. That is because Judge Diener had engaged in ex parte communications with Sheriff Lesenby, helping Sheriff Lesenby to draft his safekeeping request in violation of Rule 310 of the Code of Judicial Conduct. having violated both rules 310 and 29, Judge Diener was obligated under Rule 211 of the code to recuse himself and request appointment of a special judge before he issued the safekeeping order, not after, which is what he did, right? So he pulled a little fucking slick one. But so I went back, and I went back to the safekeeping hearing, and we're going to read Lesenby's own confession of this, because we're trying to put out, because I knew that the trolls are going to try to argue and say, nah, so we're gonna put that out, get ahead of it.
Well, before we do that, though, let's never say Tobe Lesenby and put out in the same sentence again. Okay.
Deal. Ooh, there's a whole lot I'd like to say about McLean. I got that you know that you ever lick a battery and you get that taste in your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's
it says
your 9 volts when you were a kid. You had that little football game with the 9-volt battery. Okay, put that one in there.
What's up, y'all? Okay, it says I see Mar R's and everyone's in the chat. What's up, chat? Thanks for coming in the chat. Yeah, vomit emoji, please. It says, so this is Mr. Razi talking to Mr. Lesenby. It says, is it fair to say that you filed a motion essentially asking for a safekeeping order back in November 2022? Yes, sir. Have you had a chance to review that motion? Yes. Okay, the next page. Did you draft this motion yourself? Actually, I presented a similar motion, request, I should say, to the court. And as I recall, the court had actually come up with or provided this particular document. Okay. So then he says, who asked you to sign this? The court. Who's the court? Judge Diener. And then he says, did you come up with all of this information, or were some offered up by Judge Diener? Adjustments were made by the court with this document. Okay, did you provide the court any additional documentation in support of these allegations before this document was finalized? And he says, yes. And then they're getting towards the fact of verified. Okay, so he says, so the way I understand, you didn't offer up any supporting documentation at all, other than your thoughts about this whole high-profile case in the media, which is referenced in here. Yes. So it goes on and on, but basically what it's getting at is what the defense was claiming, is that the safekeeping request was unlawful because it was in violation of the rules of judicial conduct, where he engaged in these communications. The judge himself drafted this request, and then it was unverified because it didn't have any supporting documentation to warrant its issuance.
Right.
So I thought that would be good to expose, because that's really bad. That's really bad.
I think that's one of the places where they're going to focus a lot of attention is going to be on that safekeeping hearing, or lack of thereof. That's going to be one of the strongest cases they have. And also, the phone is going to be huge, and that's why they're making a big deal about it now and trying to discredit Stacey Eldridge. You know, I mean, let them try, you know.
Well, I'm glad you brought her up, because you had her on your channel. And I loved it. Honestly, I was so happy and proud that she came on, and it's big. And you noticed McClellan tried to discount her in this latest filing. He said that, well, she's only done a couple phone extraction and analysis in her life, pretending that she's not like very well credentialed and an expert. But no, she in fact. So what she's claiming is that there's no other way in the world that phone would register headphones plugged in, headphones taken out, unless that's what actually happened, because there was no indication of water damage to the phone.
Right.
And that's assuming, because we remember that Cecil, he willy-nilly Googled how could that happen, and he alleges that he came up with from Google that water damage could make it happen, which we don't even know to be true.
Well, and on my channel, I Googled, is the earth flat? And I clicked on a link from the Scientific American. And if you read a sentence or two of that out of context, it makes it look like Scientific American is saying, yeah, the earth's flat. You know, I mean, and that's the sort of thing that he could have done. He just says, you know, can dirt or water make it look like, you know, and then look it up, and then, you know, right there it is, you know, yeah, you know. But the point being, if the dirt or water got into the phone and, you know, into that jack, and that's what we were seeing, then they're trying to make it look like the phone was not inside the shoe and was laying there exposed all night. So how did it fall out then, or dry up or whatever, to make it look like the thing had been unplugged? You know, I mean,
Well, that's a good point, because like that shows the contradiction. Like he tried. So I was saying how McClellan only releases this evidence to try to prove a point and discredit the others, because we would have never seen these fucking photos of this phone had he not tried to prove that's, because Stacey Eldridge says the photos that she saw, the phone was not wet. So he put these photos out to say, no, look, there's water droplets on the phone. Okay. So he only showed that to us to try to prove her wrong. But I guess what I'm getting at is like where my mind is going is, look, the reason this is so important, and that's the fatal error that Andy Baldwin made in trial. He assumed that the jurors would be smart enough to get this. The thing is that this phone is crucial to the timeline, because if it happens that someone does plug something into this jack, and then at 10:32 p.m. pull something out of this jack, it totally destroys the timeline and the fact that Richard Allen is the lone wolf killer. Because you could say Richard Allen killed the girls, and then Ron Logan came and plugged something into the jack, but it doesn't work, because then you're saying that Ron Logan is somehow now involved, and Richard Allen is involved, and Richard Allen has no connection to Ron Logan. It just, all the logic falls apart. So debunking that this headphone jack is plugged in and that something is pulled out of it at 10:32 p.m., that's a huge thing. And I don't know. I think the defense thought that the jury would understand that. And
I honestly, one of the things, and you know, and I didn't want it to sound like I was, you know, dissing the jury, but the biggest thing that I think caused the guilty verdict, what led to the guilty verdict, is that Baldwin and Rosie and O'Shear gave the jury too much credit. Because they asked good questions sometimes and everything, they took it for granted that they were going to be able to make subtle leaps that required critical thinking. And I think that you notice Nick's final plea. You know, you have state's closing, defense closing, then you get the state has to get, you know, they get their rebuttal so that the people get the final word. And the state's closing, Nick said, you know, his appeal was, it was not an appeal based on whether whether or not he had proven his case. It was an appeal to emotion. You know, remember, these girls solved their own crime. Basically, he was saying to them, you know, don't let them down. You know, if
he totally manipulated. It was infuriating. Yeah.
It was.
Well, he showed
a plea to not think critically, to just go on your emotions. And
remember, like, what infuriated me, he showed those gory crime scene photos at the very last moments, and then he said, and they were heroes and solved their own murders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did the old look how horrible this is, and they're heroes, and then okay, go deliberate.
You know, the brave girls that solved their own murder, you know, Abby laying there bleeding out, but she still remembers to grab that phone and hide it under her leg. You know, come on, Nick.
No, she's either dead or she's not.
And you know, and I'm telling you, I would not be laying there thinking, "Oh, I'm going to grab this phone and hide it." I would be laying there thinking, "Oh shit," you know. You don't think that way. Human beings.
I want to chime in on somebody in the chat. Look, I'm not pushing any kind of conspiracy theories on this phone because I don't think that they sprayed it to make it wet. I don't think it's luminol. I think this, and I told Christine this earlier, and I know I sound kind of like a dick about it, but there's either one or two answers to this. Either they faked it, like someone's in the chat is claiming they sprayed a spritzer onto the phone, or those bodies were not there for 19, 20 hours. Okay, because in my opinion, if those bodies were put there at 4 a.m., you could see what you're seeing. You know, if those bodies, so let's say it's 4 a.m., they put the phone, they put Abby's dead body, and then everybody skedaddles, and then the sun comes up. And so you're having like, you know, what, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you got like 8 hours. Okay, so say if you got 8 hours, I could see that in 8 hours, that body temperature would come down. It's cold out. It would be like no more than those 8 hours. But I think if they were there from the 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. hour the prior day, then that adds another 12 hours to that. There's absolutely no way. You know, if they were there 20 hours, then there's no way there's condensation on that phone. I just don't see it, because in 20 hours, that body's going to come down to a static level of temperature, and and that phone's going to dry up. So I think the bodies are put there. I mean, my bottom line is those bodies are put there at 3, 4 a.m. or something like that. That's why,
and that's what I would think.
Like it's still wet.
But that doesn't mean that the phone couldn't been there that whole time. You know, no, I'm not saying it was, but it could have been. You know,
good point. Well, I do believe it was. I actually do, because I think
because remember you couldn't take those batteries out of the iPhone. I mean,
right. Well, you know what bothers me, Rick? What bothers me the most about that 5:45 p.m. is that you got a phone call come in, immediately the headphone jack is activated, and then 4 minutes later, the last phone leaves the geofencing. Like, that's 3 coincidences. It's too much for me. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you're right about that. Oh, man, I didn't think about that. Yeah. See, this is why it's cool that we talk.
Yeah. Well, we talk on the phone, and it's different to talk on the video, but yeah, no, you got the 5:44, the phone call comes in, 5:44, the headphone jack is activated, and I think it's 5:49, maybe. The last phone leaves the geofence. What are the odds?
Man.
And then the phone, okay, so the phone is there, doesn't move. The way I think about it, Rick, honestly, I think that so I think it was a whole setup where at 2 p.m. somebody has that phone, and it's not Libby. And I think what they do is they say, we're going to go throw this phone on Baccaran's land. So they take the phone, and at 2:32, they go run down there and throw the phone. And the girls are not there. That's my theory. And I think that they wait until way, way, way later in the middle of the night in the cover of darkness. Then they bring the girls there to the same spot, and then they say, oh, shit, let's just throw her where the phone is, because the phone's going to get pinged. So the phone's like a beacon. When they ping those towers, they're going to find that phone. So let's just put the girls there, and we'll get out of here. I mean, that's my running hypothesis.
Yeah. I mean, the phone we have, I mean, there's no doubt we know, because it's already been told to us and everything. The phone was inside a shoe under Abby's body. So it was being shielded. They wanted it found. And excuse me. Like I said, you point out a phone call's coming in, and then they plug that jack in there. The thing is silenced until that plug is taken out. Now, remember what Stacy said. Well, I asked her, is there any, she said, she keeps saying that at 2:32 is the last time the state registered, or the last time the state claims that the phone moved. Okay. And she said, I asked her, okay, you say that's the last time the state claims that the phone moved. Is there any indication that you discovered in your examination that showed the phone moving after that? And because, remember, she can't say certain things. She can only talk about what she testified to. And she said, I can only say that there was activity on the phone recorded of the type that is activity that Apple Health would record. Now, what kind of activity is Apple Health recording? The only one I know of is movement. Yes,
Moving,
yeah.
Well,
So,
no, is she saying that after the 2:32 time period?
She's saying after 2:32, there was activity. She can't say movement. She says activity recorded by Apple data of the type of activity that would be recorded by Apple data. So look up what all Apple data records. If you hold it and it records your pulse, we're not looking at that, right? Because, they're dead. If it does your blood pressure or whatever, same thing. What type of activity are we talking about was recorded by Apple Health data on that iPhone after 2:32? If we're correct and they left the phone there and then silenced it after, 5:45 or whatever, if we're correct about that, then when they came back, they would have to move the phone to accommodate where they wanted to put the bodies and so forth. So they'd be pick it up, somebody carry it with them, maybe stick it in their back pocket.
Yeah, and about that too, moving it within like a 5-yard radius or nothing, that might not even register any movement at all on the pinging,
Right.
So yeah, if it's down there in Logan's backyard somewhere, they can kind of move it around, or they can pick it up and put something in it, put it down. It's not going to show movement.
That's right.
On the pings, but it might show the Apple Health data. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's what her answer was, that there was activity recorded by the phone of the type that Apple Health data would record. So, you draw your own conclusions on that one. So.
Oh, that's interesting. How you doing for time?
I got a few more minutes. I'm pulling a late nighter tonight on the book proposal because I still have to write like another chapter to go along with what I have to give them. And I've got the synopsis right now is 30 pages and like 12,000 words. So that's just the synopsis,
Yeah. So Rick's been working on his book pretty hard.
Yeah, because honestly, I want to get this out as quick as I can, because I think a lot of people need to know the story, and while acknowledging that, I will also say that, Rick needs the money, so. But
well, anyway. I hate to say it. I wish you better look than I have, but my book, it's not necessarily the money generator I thought it would be, but I tell you, it was a very fulfilling endeavor. But this, I think it's just a shame that people have gotten so far away from books. But you know what I recently saw? There's what is it? Is it Barnes and Noble? It's one of the major bookstores. I think it's Barnes and Noble, but the owner in Manhattan did a really nice video about a month ago where they reopened the store. They have a whole new model. It was very inspiring, and it seems as if the corporate world is trying to bring bookstores back with a
Yeah.
whole different vibe. Kind of make the bookstores like a library and inviting to customers, and maybe better price points. I'd suggest anyone interested go look at that, because we might see a resurgence in books, which is what I'm hoping.
What I used to love about I used to go to Borders, and what I loved about Borders was I could get like white chocolate mocha and
Yeah.
a latte, and I could go sit down and I could read a chapter or two of a book I was thinking about buying, put that one down, pick up another one, read another chapter or two, and decide which book I wanted to buy. And if they could figure out a way, because now I still like reading books, but most of the time I have my books on tablet so that I can just keep all of them in there. So I can have like 500 books on my tablet. But I still do like holding a book in my hands and flipping the pages. So
it'd be a good idea. I would recommend. I hadn't thought of this. We should make it when we sell our hardbacks or paperbacks, the physical books. It should come with a free ebook download, so that you just buy the book once, and then you can always have it on your tablet as well. That would incentivize people to buy the physical book. Because it doesn't cost anything to provide that digital copy.
And the one thing I love about having love about having the hardback books is I can just grab it, pull it, flip it open, and quickly scan to a place that I remember reading, because I know about the general area of the book it is. When you have it on a tablet, I guess you could do a search, but I like to make things complicated.
I'll confess about bookstores. Like, I'm not sure if it was Books A Million, Barnes and Noble, Borders. I can't remember the name, but I used to love to go to the one, and it had the Starbucks inside. The We Serve Starbucks type of shop, where you could get the giant cookies. Like, you could get the oatmeal cookie, the chocolate chip, and those are always so damn delicious. So you get that cappuccino or whatever, and then check the books out. I mean, it can't get any better.
That was I've never had a better oatmeal raisin cookie than from there. Those oatmeal raisin cookies were unbelievable.
It's Barnes and Noble. That's what I was thinking. Spicy Cappy says Barnes.
I think it was Barnes and Noble.
Yeah,
what's the one that had the Joe
Starbucks?
Yeah, I used to go to one that had Joe Muggs in it, and I can't remember. It was like a Books R Us or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess one of my weaknesses, and I don't do it often because of the blood sugar, but when you got a thick cookie, a real nice hot thick cookie that's still a little raw on the inside. Oh my God.
You know what my weakness is? Those Krispy Kreme glazed donuts with the white cream in the middle, not the Bavarian, not the pudding, the white cream. It's very insulin shock inducing.
Yeah, blood sugar sensitive.
Yeah. But I love them, So.
Oh man. Are you doing a show tomorrow? When's your next gig?
I have to work tomorrow night. So
you gotta work.
Yeah, tomorrow night and Saturday night. So if I do, I probably will try to do another live on probably like Saturday. So that's probably when I'll be on. There's going to be, I'm trying, like I said, I want to have everything ready to turn into the publisher tomorrow for the book proposal. But I may have set too close of a goal for myself, because in the synopsis right now, I am up to, I'm getting ready to start with the story of the March 18th hearing that I got kicked out of. And I haven't really even talked about Noe yet, but it's not going to be a whole lot, just briefly introduce it anyway. Do I know how Rick and Kathy are doing? Yeah, I mean, Rick, Kathy has been able to talk to him. He is having visitors now. The attorneys, the old attorneys, have gone to see him, and that's things are going in a good direction for him. Kathy is probably about as good as she could be expected under the circumstances. She's an amazing woman. I mean, wow. I can definitely see why Ricky gets his strength from her. She's a good wife for him. What are you doing, Prof?
I'm looking for a. I'm almost there. I'm sorry. Apologize.
You're plotting.
Someone asked the question, and I want to respond, but I don't want to be that wrong. Let's see. So I'll just say it. So someone says about, because there's this. Yeah. See, I knew I was right. Okay. Removing. Who was it? Let me find it. Did you see someone said taking out the battery could trigger the headphone jacks to trigger? Listen, nobody took out the fucking battery. It's a gaslight. This is not a little burner phone from the electronics store that you can just pull the battery out like this. To remove a battery from an iPhone 6S, just like an iPhone 13 or whatever, like the amount of tiny, very, very tiny specific screwdrivers, it's a task. It's not. I don't know where that's coming from, but I guarantee it's BS. Like,
yeah, nobody took the battery out of that thing.
And I had never heard that before until this recent filing with Nick. So I don't know why they're trying to come up with this. Someone took the battery out, but it didn't happen. There's no. I mean, the only way it happened is if the entire thing is not what they're saying. Okay, so if it's not what they're saying, like let's say they did plant the bridge guy video on the phone and all of that. Well, yeah, if it's a fucking hacker or if it's one of these meth heads that's got a little pack of tiny screwdrivers specific for the iPhone where they could go in there and they were trying to do surgery on the phone, that's how you take the battery is permanent in those iPhones. So to take it out, it's quite a task. You have to deconstruct the phone. And yes, you can replace them, but they're not like your average cell phone where you just pop the back off and replace the battery.
You had to take it into Apple to get it done. And the only time they would, that's why basically if you got one of those old iPhones, and this happened to me more than once, something happened where the battery just would not charge anymore after like 6 months. So they would take that phone and give me a brand new one.
You do need a screwdriver. Someone's saying you don't need a screwdriver. I had that phone. You had to have these little screws on the underside unscrewed first. Then you have to pry off the screen.
Like a watchmaker's kit.
Yeah, but first you have to there's screws underneath by the charging port right here. There's little screws. Just Google, how do you replace the battery on an iPhone 6S? Okay. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully you're wrong. I don't know. It doesn't matter who's wrong, but I'm saying that ain't happening unless it was some meth heads out there really trying to do some surgery on that phone. Yeah. Then they have to change the story from it's Rick Allen that killed those girls to it's a bunch of meth heads tweaking and figuring out how to undo that back of that or that screen, flip it off, and then replace the battery. There's something not making sense about it. And what I'll do when Rick gets off, we'll Google it real quick and I'll explain it to you. Yeah, but I don't buy the story about the replacing the taking the battery out. That's
which even then, if they did that, it would show that someone was there messing with the phone at that particular time.
Well, that it's not Rick Allen. Yeah, that's what's funny, Rick, like I've said so many times, I believed when Rick Allen was arrested, I jumped for joy out of my bed. I was like, yeah. They finally got someone. And it's just that every day that goes by, it gets that further away from reality. I can't conceive it. I just really can't. And at this point, you have to ask, would they have had to do all the colluding that they've done if he was guilty and there was evidence that he was guilty? The answer is no. And trust me, even if they did have a little screwdriver, do you know how tiny those screws are? Like, to take those off in the woods when you can drop them in the leaves, I mean, when I used to do surgery on, I had an iPhone 5S, and to do surgery on that, I'd had to get at my desk, totally clean it off, get my head in the right spot, get my little kit. I had to order a special kit with a suction cup and the little flippies. Because those screws, they would just roll off the table. And
I back when I was on a friendly basis with Frank Meister, we were kind of sitting around his house looking at this iPhone, and he could do it, because he has probably one of the tiniest tools in history. So, if you need a job done that requires a very tiny tool, Frank Molester he'll do it. I mean,
so if you need some screwing with a very tiny tool,
very tiny,
a magnifying glass, there you go.
One of those, like, you pull it down to like Colonel Klink, sort of, with the 12 seconds flat. They call that a meth head pit stop.
Hey, you deserved it, so don't even start complaining and don't tell me how Jerry Holman's going to arrest me and you're turning me into the FBI. Just buy a sense of humor, man. Grow one. No, someone said
saying shit about no.
5 Green Acre says, I thought Andrea Burkhart saw a pic of the phone and said it was clean and dry. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what Stacey Eldridge said.
That's what Stacey said.
So what's the truth and what's fiction here?
I don't know. I'm ashamed that McClellan's Irish, because we don't want him. He looks like he wants to be Italian. Let him go. Oh yeah,
well,
Samsung, Samsung battery. You could take that out very easily.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, full agreement on that, because that's a whole different game there. Mm-hmm. And that's the funny thing is like this. They've gotten it to the point where there's zero trust. There's zero trust. So everything is going to be scrutinized. And that's what happens when there's a lack of transparency. And like I said, when I endorsed Vinnie Politan is when he won me over by going off on Doug Carter, gaslighting at the press conference, saying like, yeah, I'm not a fan of most celebrities, but it's true that when this is the result of the lack of transparency. So you're going to be scrutinized, every word you say, everything you do, every document, every filing, every photograph. There's zero trust anymore. No confidence in Carroll County. So
you want us to take your word for it, Carroll County? No. How about no, Scott?
The answer is no. And even the transcripts, I've said that too. I agree with that. I don't even necessarily trust that the transcripts we're going to get eventually are going to be that accurate, because there's so much misdirection.
Yeah. Well, hey,
and
man,
outright falsehoods.
I'm on sale. Got to get back started on my dang thing.
Yeah. See, I got to let you go so you can.
I can stay up really late tonight because I'm going to be up until like 4 tomorrow because I'll be at the pub. So got to get that sleep cycle going there. See. But anyway, I'll see everybody later, man.
Please thank Rick. If you're new here, Rick Snay's channel is Delphi After Dark. Go subscribe to him. And he's working on his project. So we'll let him go. And thanks, Rick, again.
All right, man. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, I'm interested in what Stacey has to say about all this phone stuff.
I asked her if she had heard anything and if she had any comment. And she said, never read it, haven't read it, haven't heard it. I'm like, okay.
Well, she's not out of the
Thanks,
game.
Rebecca.
Yeah, because I'm feeling she still might be called upon to the future.
Exactly.
So
Oh yeah.
yeah. All right.
All
Well,
right.
good night, Rick, and thanks for the input. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
All right, y'all. Rick Snay, please thank him in the chat for coming. No, these devices. I guess the reason I asked him to come is these various devices, right? Since we know we can't take the word of these people over anything, and we know that that the defense was completely handicapped. There's no way with the small team they had that they could have done their job, and the overwhelming amount of late discovery, their grasp on the case not being what it needed to be. I mean, there's just a lot of questions, and I am so intrigued by these releases. We're just gradually notice what we're getting, right? We're gradually getting small pieces of the puzzle, and that's what I'm getting at. Is with these releases, it's confirming things that Rick and I have heard about for years now. And it's something that Rick and I agree on, okay, is that for years we've both heard that there are multiple devices. Okay. Like I said, there's the rumor that Libby was not using her own phone, but someone else's in the family. And that's one. There's a rumor that Abby had a device, a literal device. There's a rumor that there were 2 to 3 other devices found out in the area by third parties in the days and weeks after the crime. There's no lie about that, okay? If I'm lying, I'm dying. And I know Rick has heard, because I talked to him about it, he's heard all of those. Okay? So where are they? Well, let me bring this back up. So just in summary, let me bring this up. Okay. So I want to get done with this. I'm going to post this on the community page for you guys. These are my takeaways from this discovery dump in January 24. Just imagine, that was only a year ago. That was only a year ago. How can you dump 20 hard drives on a defense team that late in the game? Like keep in mind what they did to this guy. They put a pretrial detainee in Westville in solitary under suicide watch, where he's videoed and watched 24 hours a day. He's losing his mind. He's going into a psychological breakdown, a mental crisis, a physical crisis. He's dropped 40 pounds. They are literally throwing feces on him. He's eating feces. He's rolling in feces. He's rolling in urine. He's rolling in his food. He's totally lost his mind. He's banging his head on the wall. He's breaking his devices. He's being forcibly medicated. He's being brainwashed by the guards, by the babysitters, I call them, and by the other inmates, and by his mental health practitioner, who is feeding him information from social media while forcibly medicating and quote unquote issuing out some therapy. And while all that's going on, the judge is trying to remove the attorneys that are defending him, right? They're withholding 20 hard drives. This right here, 20 fucking hard drives of discovery they're withholding. They're denying the identity, that they have the identity of the expert on Odinism and runes. They're denying that they know who the geofence analysis was done by. And then suddenly in January of 2024, boom, you get 20 fucking hard drives. Okay, included in this is what I've highlighted here. FBI trail cameras right? I thought that was important. Pole cameras at the Mears farm gate. Okay, cameras, right? And like I said, what's here? Fucking flip phone, another phone, another phone, a tablet, screenshots, another phone, another dump, a SIM card from Pearson. You got all the alleged witnesses dumps. You got other dumps. You've got dumps from POIs, and they're named here: Anthony Schatz, Bob Schude, Brad Holder, Eugene McKinney, Glenn Cunningham, Kevin Stewartson, Larry Wayne Ray, Mike Nipple, Patrick Westfall, Tower Dump, Verizon Tower Dump, victims, Verizon Tower certification. You got security footage and photographs from the Harvest store. You got all these extractions of the searchers, quote unquote, and other witnesses and searchers, including Sandifer, Derek German, Snowberger, Weber. You got all these other devices. Okay, you got Hicks, fucking Maxwell, Voorhees, Wilbur, Williams, Wright, Young, Gurman, Burkhardt, Humphrey, Patterson. I mean, Jesus. All of these, and then you got security footage from local businesses and residences. Okay, you got the library, the Mexican Grill, the Pizza King, the Save-A-Lot, the Shell, the Sunoco, the Transfer Station, True Value, Walmart, Harvest Store. Look at all this shit. You know, crime scene cameras 1, 4, and 6, CBS, Danny's Auto Shop, Delphi Citgo, Dollar General Flora, drone video. You got other ATMs. You got the fucking drive-through, the hard drives. You got the bank. You got the Office Tavern, the Mexican Grill, blah 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 blah. Pizza King, Save-A-Lot, blah 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 blah. Public library. So, question: will the public ever get to scrutinize all of that? Because I guarantee you, listen, the killers of Abby and Libby have to be on some of these videos. If they've got all those security videos from all the businesses and residences, all the businesses around town, and several residences, it appears. Don't you think that the public could find people and identify people based on their vehicles if we had all that footage? Somebody's got to be leaving the area. Somebody's got to have been coming into the area. What other trail cams were there that we don't know about? Like something Rick was saying. What other trail cams that we don't know about? That's a bunch of shit. It's very interesting. Like I said, the defense was never going to solve this. But we could. We could. Now, what would it take? Well, you put all that on a server for the public to access as they wish. Open source. You get everything and let people pick it apart. And I guarantee you, discoveries would be made. That's why I called this discovering discovery. Remember how I said there are the known knowns, there are the known unknowns, and there are the unknown unknowns? Well, this is what I'm getting at. This list we've just gone through is some of the unknown unknowns. Okay? This is stuff that we didn't know about. It's stuff that the defense investigators and the defense attorneys could not tell us about because it wasn't time. But McClellan, in trying to prove his point, remember, the only reason we got this, let's go back to that. I want to tell you why we got this. This came in paragraph, well, I'll read it to you. How about that? It's just a fluke that we got this. Like I said, the only time we're going to get anything, remember, they're denying all FOIA requests. Okay, so the only time we're going to get anything is when it benefits their claims. Okay, when it benefits the prosecutor, he will release breadcrumbs. So anyhow, let's see. I'm trying to find this here, exactly the paragraph to show you. Okay. It's on page 8, at the very first line of page 8. And it has to do with the Reese Davis claims of a confession by Ron Logan. And it's under 3C. Okay. So this is McClelland's attempt to prove that the defense had this in their possession, which is why he gave this up, to say, oh, well, you see, the defense had this already. It's not newly discovered. And he says that this evidence, along with the video surveillance from the residence, was received by defense on January 30, 2024, is evidenced by the discovery release herein attached as State Exhibit 7. And then we go, boom, State Exhibit 7. So the only reason we got this is because he's trying to prove that this State Exhibit 7, this receipt for the January 30th, 2024 physical discovery release, as you see here, the receipt is dated, if you look at the last page, boom, January 30th. So in order to try to prove that he's right, that the defense had this, he allowed the public to see this. And I'm honestly astonished that every one of these paragraphs, except the one that was pertinent, was not redacted. It's actually just probably because they're fucking retards that he didn't go ahead and redact, because he could have easily just redacted all of this. So we need to get on our knees tonight and pray and thank God that that this information was disclosed by lack of redaction in him trying to prove his point. But see, now we know what's in here. Okay, so I suggest all of you feel free to go download this. It's available. It's around. All right. Anyway, I'm very pleased with it. I'm very pleased with this. But all it does is it opens more questions than answers. It opens the door to more questions than answers, because now we know there's an extraordinary mountain of evidence here in the form of dumps and surveillance video. And we've not seen one part of it. It's just like these crime scene photos of the phone that have just been released. Right? We had not have any of you seen photos of that phone? No. Even in the crime scene photos leak from before trial, you did not see photos of this phone. So now, because McClelland is trying his hardest to prove his point, he's released photos of the phone for us to scrutinize, and this particular receipt. Now, let me say about the phone also, because this is my opinion. Just let me pull this down. All right, when you're looking at the photos of that phone, please be aware. Once I tell you this, it'll be very obvious to you. Thank you, Mark Ellis. Thanks, Mark. Look, this will be very obvious to you. Okay. Once I tell this to you, it'll be obvious to you. But the funny thing is, if it's not known to you, it may be confusing. But so what am I getting at? Because I'm talking in circles. Let me see. I'm trying to get this together to show you. Okay. Look, this should be obvious to you, because we're talking about these photos of the phone, right? These photos. Okay. What's not obvious to you, unless you really scrutinize them, is these are taken at night. Okay. These are taken at night with a flash. So when you're scrutinizing these photos of Libby's phone, quote unquote, the phone that Libby was in possession of, you have to scrutinize them with the keeping in mind that the photos are taken at night with a flash. So as you go to try to edit the color profiles and the contrast and all of that, as you try to do that, you have to keep in mind that it's dark. Okay, it's the middle of the night because those bodies laid there. I know it's not nice to say. Listen, it's not like the minute they found the girls, they rushed them into an ambulance and took them out of the place. Okay, took them home, or to the hospital or to the morgue or wherever. No, no, no. Those bodies were left. Okay, they were left for hours and hours and hours and hours, all to the dark. And it was in the middle of the night when they're still taking photos, and they finally get enough photos taken, and they get to the bodies, and then they roll over Abby's body, and then they take these photos of the phone. So if you look closely, with that in mind, look at this. Okay, you see how it's dark? Look, it's dark. It's damn near black. Look right there. Right there. It's damn near black. See, it's nighttime. It's black. It's nighttime. And there's a flash. So in other words, they're there the entire 14th until sundown and then on into the nighttime. So it's nighttime. And then, oh, you want to see that? Yeah, I'll show you that too. Okay. If you look at this photo here that let me show you. So you'll see, if you look closely, this is the States Exhibit 11. See, States Exhibit 11 here. I was able to get the color of blood and blue jeans. So see, I'll show you. This is the blue jean, and this is the blood. It's hard to see. You see the color of blood there? Right next to the blue jean, it's blood. Then there's blood up here too. So I don't want to really. Basically, there's blood here. There's blood here where it's red. And there's blood down here where it's red. And there's blue jeans. Okay. But you have to play with it. And I'm still not done playing with it. There's so many different ways to apply filters and alter the colors, profiles on the photos that will be, I'll still be manipulating the color profiles to try to pull more out. But I guess what I was saying about that one is I was trying to get the true color of that phone, and I was trying to pull out the blood. So you see, well, I guess I'll show you that. Okay, notice in this photo, I was able to get it reddish pink. Okay, so see how it's reddish pink? Reddish pink there. And then in this one, this is the original color. It looks purple. Looks purple. And then as I kept manipulating it, I was able to get the colors of blood, like I said, which are at the corner of the photograph. And so that's that part of the show. So the next part I want to get into. Sweet Dude Shibby says actually multiple lights and flash because there's I would assume because they probably had lights up on stands because they're capturing. They also had a ladder out there to capture an overhead view of the bodies. You know what they're doing? They're lighting up that entire scene, and they're also getting overheads with a ladder, and so there's multiple lights, but it's under the it's in total darkness, which is why it's hard to get. It's hard to make it look like daytime because it's not daytime; it's nighttime. So anyway, what I want to do now, and I'm not happy about this part. So let's see. I want to read for you. I'll have to find it. Seem to have lost it. Let's see. All right, so now I'm going to get into the something very important. And let's see, what this is, there was a June 15th, 2023. Pardon, June 15th, 2023. There's a safekeeping hearing. So the safekeeping hearing from June is what I want to do. And what I'm interested in is I want to cover for you the John Gallipo. Okay. So we'll get into that now. Okay, and where I'm starting, if you okay, if you're looking at the transcript, I'm starting on page 142. And page 142 is where the recross of Warden John Gallipo begins. And that's where we're going to start. They're taking pictures at night because the crime scene was, it took them that many hours. Who's asking that? Ninja Warrior Assassin. Okay, so before we get into it, it's night because they're found in broad daylight, but it takes the 10 hours or so for them to rope the whole thing off, and they start the forensic exam and picking up evidence, and then they start the 360-degree photography situation they're doing. It's taking hours and hours and hours and hours. So by the time they get to where they're start manipulating the girls' bodies and turning them over and stuff, it's already nighttime. That's why. Okay. So the recross of Warden John Gallipo is where we're starting. Okay. Let me start with page 143, and I'm going to start on line 24. Okay. Now remember how I've said that this is infuriating. It honestly is. It's infuriating because this John Gallipo and Nick McClellan, they're trying to shoo this off like, oh, it's just perfect. He's treated perfect. It's normal. Everything's normal. Nothing to see here. It's just perfect. Rick Allen has not been abused or tortured or mistreated in any way. He's not been dirty. He's not been paraded around like Hannibal Lecter for sheer optics purposes. Everything's fine with Rick. He's treated better than anyone else in the entire facility. He's just, we baby him. We burp him, like basically we wipe his butt. We buy him brand new clothes. Like he's got brand new clothes. He's got the cleanest clothes in the entire unit. He eats better than anyone. He sleeps better than anyone. He's treated like king. He's the king of Westville. He's the best treated guy in Westville. That's literally what they're doing. Okay. But those are the words of Nick McClellan and John Gallipo. That's literally, if you read this, see, I mistreated myself. I read this entire hearing. It's infuriating, makes you want to do bad things to them because they act like he's treated so well and there's no problems here, nothing to see here. It's just everything is perfect and he's lucky. Anyway, But Razi is really getting into it, right? And so Razi says, "Are you aware?" Well, let me first of all, this vest that he's wearing. Do you know what this vest is? And look at how John Gallipo tries to sidestep it, right? He says, "Yeah, ballistic vest." He says, "Yeah, are you familiar with the technology that's involved in these?" So you see where that's going, because you're just saying it's a ballistics vest, so he doesn't get shot. Come on, man. And John Gallipo doubles down. He says, "Yeah, I'm familiar. It's a ballistic vest." And he says, "Is it basically a shock collar? Is there an electric charge that you can use or not?" And then he admits, "Oh, there's an electric charge. Yeah, it's built into the vest." Yeah. If it's a stun vest, this vest, I'm not sure what type of vest it is. So he's showing them a photo. And he's refusing to admit that in the photo he's wearing one of the shocker vests. So he says, "Is there some kind of belt on him that has an electric charge that you employ if there's an issue?" "There should be one during transportation," he says. "There is?" "Well, I'm not sure what's on him now, but during transportation, if the CERT team decided to use one, that's pretty standard." Okay, very standard. "Do you know that your staff had him on a leash when they brought him into visitation the other day?" "A restraint chain? Well, it looked like a leash to me. It's like what you'd be, well, we don't call it a leash, but a restraint." "Well, it's the same purpose, right? It's for control. Just like you'd control a dog if you put a leash on them. Just like we control 255 other offenders. Just like you'd control a dog if you put a leash on him." "That's not correct, sir." So you notice something there? So they had just been for pages and pages discussing his clothing being dirty. Remember the photo of Rick Allen where he looked like on death's door and his shirt was literally brown, but it's a white shirt, but it's literally brown and it has vomit spots on it and all this? So he says, so after denying that he was mistreated for pages and pages and pages and pages, and saying and asserting that he's treated better than any other person in the prison, him being the only pretrial detainee, coincidentally, uh, he tries to deny that he's got a shock vest and a shot belt and a leash on. And when he can't deny it, he refuses to admit that it's bad. And he says, "Well, it's just the same as all the other 255. But see, the other 255 are convicted criminals. And at the time, Rick Allen is a pretrial detainee. And as I've said so many times, we need new laws in this country. We need federal laws to assure that no state can treat a pretrial detainee the way that Richard Allen has been treated. No pretrial detainee should ever be treated like a convicted criminal. And honestly, convicted criminals need better treatment. But certainly, pretrial detainees don't need the treatment of convicted criminals. But according to these people, Rick Allen was treated just fucking grand. Okay, just grand, and it was his choice to go into a state of physical and mental deterioration to the point where he's at death's door. He nearly dies. He drops 40 pounds. He bottoms out at 40 pounds. He's eating his feces, banging his head on the wall. That in one point he was literally purple. Okay, at one point when the attorneys visited, if you read Max Baker's testimony at this hearing, Max Baker says, yeah, it was literally like he had been the shit beat out of him because he had been banging his head on the concrete walls. And this is the very time during which he's giving these coerced confessions. This is the nexus, right? The nexus is at the same time he's eating his shit. He's hearing voices. He's talking to himself. He wants to die, and all of this. He's losing his fucking mind, and he's 40 pounds underweight. At that very time is when he's saying, "Yeah, I killed the girls. I think I shot them and molested them," and they're normalizing. So Nick McClellan and John Gallipo are here normalizing for pages and pages and pages. And then Gallipo, obviously, he refuses to acknowledge or openly admit or easily admit that he's in a shock vest with a shock belt and a chain leash. And he's also, remember, he's also shackled in the arms or the hands and the ankles. Literally like Hannibal Lecter. And you have to think like Brian Kohlberger, okay? There's much more evidence of Brian Kohlberger. There's 4 dead kids. Brian Kohlberger is not true. Look at Brian Kohlberger. He's wearing suits. He's not shackled, is he? So look at the stark difference. Look at the contrast between Brian Kohlberger and how he's brought around and presented. And look at how Rick Allen was presented. And I said every single time, it's completely for the purposes of influencing the potential future jurors. This was jury manipulation. It was a PR. It was a PR to make him look like an absolute monster before trial so that they would convict. Anyway, so after all of that, this is Razi's argument, and I want you to hear it because it's really good. And I'm going to close out the show this way because this is somewhat of a tribute to Razi. Just listen, though, because this, trust me, this all ties in. Well, why are we doing this? Well, because we're talking, what has been the topic of discussion this week? The safekeeping order, right? We were talking about the safekeeping order, and I've been posting how Tobe Lesenby put that safekeeping request in that Judge Diener had authored, and Diener should not have ruled on that. And this whole thing, it's the whole pathway that landed Richard in Westville. This is the direction I'm headed, okay? The whole thing that landed him in Westville was a safekeeping that Diener and Lesenby colluded on, and then Diener immediately stepped down because he knew he'd done the wrong fucking thing. You get it where I'm going with this? And this resulted in Gull being appointed, and she's completely unfucking hinged and biased. She tried to remove the attorneys. McClellan tried to have the attorneys removed and jailed, and none of that worked out, blah, 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 and they were forced to go to trial. Part of it. But we're going back to this issue of safekeeping and how he should have never been there and never been treated in that way in the first place. And so that's why I'm here, where I'm bringing us back to this safekeeping hearing. And this is what Razi has to say. Judge, this ended up right where I thought it was going to be. And I'm just going to point the judge to the law. The court to the law, I mean. That's what matters here is the law. 353311 requires that there be some speculation about this, but that there be some imminent threat of serious bodily injury or death, or that he represents some substantial threat to the safety of others. And there has been, not before the order was signed by Judge Diener or after the order was signed by Judge Diener, not an iota of evidence to suggest that there's an imminent chance of serious bodily injury to anybody or any circumstance. I sympathize and understand fully how this happened. Not that the defense is, that's not the defense's beef today. Clearly, we had a lot of people that were dealing with some circumstances that they hadn't dealt with before. And clearly, they were making some decisions on a rush. And clearly, when you do that, you have a tendency to do some things that maybe when you look back, you're like, okay, I probably would have handled that a little differently. But the problem here is that there was an attempt to cure this, to make it right, to get him in a situation that was a healthier situation, long before this kind of thing went off the rails. And essentially, that attempt was kiboshed, for lack of a better word, by the sheriff, Sheriff Liggett, who told you today he wasn't going to agree because he couldn't transport. Now, let's get back to the kind of foundational legal issues. The first one is that they haven't met their burden of proof. I argued to the court today already that there's a due process issue here, just simply because there was no judiciary finding of any kind or any evidence ever introduced to support the initial order that was entered. And if you look at the initial order, it very much mirrors, and this is all starting to make sense to me now, because it was done, sounds like, done by the same person. But it all mirrors the request by the sheriff, and it's all about speculative safety concerns and all those kinds of things, which again, I understand. I understand why they had these concerns, but that doesn't meet the legal standard to put him in a maximum security facility where he is treated and housed. Frankly, in the same sense as the most heinous criminals in the state of Indiana. He's the only pretrial detainee in 5, 6, 7 years of experience for these officers that got up here that's ever been in that circumstance. And the state wants to come in today. The state, who frankly agreed to move him at one point, now is coming in, Mr. McClellan, doing his job, and I understand that. The sheriff's department is part of his bailiwick. But they want to come in today and they want to compare his circumstance to that of the guy who's down the hall from him, who's a convicted child chomo, a 3-time murderer, or whatever it is. You've heard all that, all the crimes that these people have committed. That's not the comparison. Under the Equal Protection Clause in the 14th Amendment, we're comparing him with the circumstances under which other pretrial detainees are detained. You can't put someone in Guantanamo Bay and say they're getting treated the same as the next inmate in Guantanamo Bay. It doesn't work that way. That's not what the Equal Protection Clause is about. It's about treating him like other pretrial detainees who are similarly situated. People in the Cass County Jail, people in the Tippecanoe County Jail, frankly, people in the Carroll County Jail. Just like Officer Leatherby said, they've had other people charged with murder in these counties. This isn't a first pass. And so don't fall for that trick of, hey, we're treating him just like the guy down the hall, because that's the wrong comparison. It's not the right analogy, and that's not what the Equal Protection Clause requires. This due process argument is also a 14th Amendment argument. It basically is similar in that he was not afforded any due process because there was no evidentiary hearing. There was no standard set. It was just an order that was struck by the former judge in this case. And so we would rest our argument on that as well. The Sixth Amendment claim, and I think the court probably senses where we're going with this, but he has a right to counsel, and that right extends to privacy and some convenience and just his overall ability to communicate with us so that we can defend him in some reasonable manner. But what the court has learned today is first of all, just demographically, I should say geographically, it's an 1.5-hour drive just to get to his same airspace. And that's just to get to the front door. Beyond that, there's layers upon layers of security we've got to go through. And eventually, we do get to access our client. It's in a setting that's not overly comfortable, not overly convenient. We've been, different places, different times, but the bigger problem is that we have no privacy. There was no privacy when we're meeting with him. We show up at the jail one moment, and we're taking our cell phones in the prison, and the next moment we show up and we got to take our cell phones to the car. And we come back the next week and we walk in and we've got a jail officer, correctional officer following us around with a video camera. I mean, it's the most bizarre thing that's ever happened to me in 20 years I've been doing this. I still can't understand this, but basically we're meeting with him. He's sitting in the middle of the room in a plastic chair that they chose to sit him in, not one of the half padded chairs that's sitting right next to us. And they've got a video camera affixed on us for half an hour or hour in an 85-degree room, whatever it is. None of this is convenient. None of this facilitates an attorney-client relationship. You feel like you have no privacy. You feel like you have no ability to communicate with him in any sense, with any sense of confidentiality. And at this point in the case, we are consumed as a defense team with dealing with his detention. We're barely consumed with the facts, and it's starting to get to the point where it's overwhelming. We have not the time to focus on things that are important, which is the guilt and innocence phase of this case. All we're dealing with are DOC attorneys, wardens, captains, correctional officers. I mean, we go up there and we get to ride in the back of the van on a wheel well. I mean, I get it. The people who are doing this are nice, but we get transported in a van and we sit on the wheel well in the back of the van. That's how we get to him. It's got to stop. And I'm asking Your Honor, to intervene. And I think hopefully that what you heard today is, look, there could be a combination of a couple things here. We could find a facility like Cass County, which is a 2-minute walk from my front door and much closer for Mr. Baldwin to visit. We could use the DOC because you have the power of the pen to transport him. They could still do that. It would remove 90% of the burden on them to having to detain him and dealing with people like me, frankly, because I think they're tired of me and I don't blame them. But I have a job to do. And that would be a nice combination of both. We could employ the state police. They have invested so many resources in this case. The idea that they couldn't somehow pick him up from a county jail and drive him down the highway a few miles to the courthouse, it's just beyond me. I don't know how you could explain that away. I mean, clearly, they have the ability to do that. This is not rocket science. I'm just asking the court to intervene, recognize this, his basic fundamental rights. He's being deprived of those. And to fix this situation, confessions, non-confessions, incriminating statements, non-incriminating statements, however you want to phrase all that, we'll deal with that. And, you know, a jury's going to hear about all that when the time's right. But right now, we're talking about the rights of a pretrial detainee. And, you know, there's a lot of case law in this. You know, I've spent some time looking at that. Most of it is referenced in my pleadings. I think the foundational case, give me 1 second here so I can find my case law. One of the foundational cases on the due process issue, the equal protection issue, is Rame v. Malcolm. And that citation is 507 F2D 333. It's a 1974 case. It's good law. It's been around for a long time. And basically, what you're going to find if you read that is that he is to be compared with other people that are similarly situated to him. Not people who are on, as I have coined it, death row. That's my term. That's my phrase, but it's not inaccurate. He is to be compared with other people in his situation. And that's what I'm asking the court to consider and grant our request, essentially, to remove the safekeeping order altogether or modify it to another circumstance that's much more amendable and allows us to represent him, and it's much more convenient so we can get on with the real merits of the case. And the court responds. Mr. Razi, you've raised your Sixth Amendment right to counsel that extends to privacy and convenience, but your argument seems to focus on your convenience. When you were appointed by this court, Mr. Allen was already in Department of Corrections, so you were well aware, as was Mr. Baldwin, of the hour-and-a-half drive and the layers of security that would be imposed. Nobody asked DOC if they would transport, just that they were available to transport. so we don't have to answer to that particular question. Boy, what a... Thank you, Judge. And as I've said in the beginning, the state's in a unique position. The state doesn't have a huge concern of where he's housed. The state doesn't believe he should be held without bond, and we believe that because of the evidence we've collected, the evidence that's been presented to the courts in various pleadings, and the multiple confessions to multiple people. We believe that the evidence is strong by preponderance of the evidence. The proof of guilt is evident, and the presumption that he committed these heinous acts are strong. And so as long as he's held without bail, the state doesn't have a real concern. I suppose it's the lawyer in me that wants to argue more than anything. But Mr. Razi brought up, now this is McClellan, 353311, and the desire to scrap the safekeeping order altogether. I don't see any provisions within that chapter to say if you scrap the safekeeping, the defense then gets to choose what facility he's in. I may have missed something, but I looked through that chapter with some extensive research and I didn't find anything. So if the safekeeping order is scratched, he comes back to the charging county, which is Carroll County, and that's where he's to be housed. And I think the court, to me, when I read the motion, I think the court hit the nail on the head that this is about convenience for Mr. Razi. We don't want the safekeeping order. The sheriff hadn't met their burden. You should get rid of it, but we really want you to modify it to Cass County so he's right next door to where I'm at. We heard the Cass County sheriff testify. We heard DOC warden testify. If it doesn't sound like his situation in either facility is going to be much different. He's going to be videotaped 24 hours a day. He's going to have face-to-face. He's not going to have face-to-face visits. He's going to have all the same amenities and maybe even less in Cass County than he has in DOC. And I say that because in Cass County, he's not going to have 24-hour medical or mental health facility or people there to look after him. So he's going to be in a worse spot for his safety. He's not going to have those conveniences at his hands 24 hours a day. Cass County Sheriff said those are only there, I think, 4 hours a week for mental health and maybe 12 hours a week for 12 hours a day for the medical. Blah, 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 blah. And then Razi says, Judge, a couple of comments. First of all, the prosecutor, again, is sitting here talking about multiple confessions. You're going to hear at some point what he's talking about. This is one of those things where at 1 minute, Rick Allen is saying one thing, and 2 seconds later, he's saying something else. It's all very generic. This is not some, inquisition as where he's finally given up and thrown in the towel and he's just confessing. That's not it. And I've listened to what he's listened to. The second thing is that the idea that somehow Cass County jail's not an option. That's just me offering up an alternative. I would think that if any lawyer came in and asked for relief in the form of some prayer, that you would want to know what's the relief. So I'm offering up a suitable circumstance that the court might fit. I've even suggested loosely today that the White County circumstance wasn't that bad. Everything seemed to be fine there for the week he was there. It's accessible. It's not very far. It's actually closer to this courthouse. Anything to make this a little bit easier. And then we get into the issue of convenience for me. Convenience for me. Okay, so the idea that Mr. Baldwin or I have to travel great distance and deal with all these layers of security and the changing rules and all the other changing circumstances, including having our own visits videotaped, is somehow okay? I mean, I'm trying to put him in a situation where we can have reasonable contact with him with reasonable notice and represent him like the rules of professional conduct require me to represent him. And so to the extent that it's convenient for me, it's convenient for him. And that's what's most important, is what needs and what rights does he have? And him being accessible to us without having to go through all these hurdles and without having some of the modern amenities like water when we meet with him, and not having him shackled up like this when we're trying to talk to him, having a computer in front of us so we can show him the thousands of hours of witness statements and other things. Those aren't amenities. Those are basic human rights, basically. And that's what we're asking for, is just to get us in a situation that's functional. We're not asking to put him in the Holiday Inn. I don't see any reason that we're not there. I mean, nobody's really objecting. It's just that we can't get a van back and forth between the two counties. For Christ's sakes, we almost put a guy on the moon 40 years ago. We can drive the van around from Cass County to Carroll County. I really don't see a problem with that. It's really frustrating. You can sense that from me. I just want to get on with the case and get him in a better circumstance. Just a moment. So you can see something that he referenced in there. And I'm going to stop right there. There's more, but I think that's enough to convey to you. You see what's referenced there is the water, right? Now, what am I saying here? Do you know that on his visits with his attorneys and with his wife, he was not allowed to have anything to drink? His face was videotaped at all times. The door was left cracked open to the room in which he was in, and there were 2 guards that stayed outside listening in to everything. The visit with his wife, I believe they were in there. And that's what McClellan is, forgive me, Razi is referencing there, that basically water and a computer to show him his own discovery would kind of be appropriate. Remember, they weren't allowed computers, phones, anything, not water, not air conditioning. He was not unshackled during these encounters. Are you understanding what I'm... So Razi is basically saying, please, let's move him somewhere that's comparable to where pretrial detainees should be. Let's not consider his treatment that needs to be comparable to the 255 convicted offenders in Westville. And you saw how McClellan came behind him and totally gaslit, and he brought up confessions. The first thing he said is, he's guilty. Confessions. And this is all about McClellan. This is all about Brad Razi asking for his convenience. You see how that fucking bitch, that son of a bitch, he turns it around every time. And an interesting thing there that Razi brought up, which was repeated here. I actually want to bring this up again because it's repeated. Okay, let's bring this up. So you'll notice in here, they reference that the safekeeping was unverified. So because he mentioned that in what we just read at that hearing way back then. So let's read it. Okay, I'll read it for you. That's not it. Come on, Profi Poo. All right, let's see. All right, listen to it. This is page 6 we need. So he says, fourth, Sheriff Lesenby's safekeeping request was not verified. Therefore, there was literally no evidence before Judge Diener from which he could make a factual finding required by Indiana Code 3533.11.1 that would authorize a safekeeping order. Fifth, because a factual finding was not required to authorize a safekeeping order, a hearing with notice to the parties on Sheriff's Lesenby's safekeeping request was required. So like I said, what I would like all of you to do who are interested in this case, go back and obtain this copy here of the defendant's, Richard Allen, verified motion to correct error. We call it the motion to correct error for short. But check out that motion to correct error, okay, where it lays all this out, and check out the transcript on the safekeeping order, or the safekeeping hearing on the safekeeping order from June 15th, 2023. Okay, because these two tie together. So if you read what I just was reading from was a transcript from the proceedings of the hearing on the safekeeping order held June 15th, 2023. Okay, you can find that on the internet to download. That's the transcript from June 15th, 2023, the safekeeping hearing. This motion to correct error discusses this safekeeping as part of it. Okay, in the first part, remember they go through in these first pages, they go through the in violation of 6th and 14th Amendment, Mr. Allen was deprived of counsel at the safekeeping proceeding on November 3rd. Okay, and they go through why, and I've shown that to you, you know, and those reasons being some of what we were looking at, including this, the fact that this thing right here, let me show you. This thing right here is the request by Sheriff of Carroll County, Indiana, to transfer inmate from the custody of the sheriff to the custody of the Indiana DOC for safekeeping. This is what Judge Benjamin Diener authored for Mr. Tobe Lesenby, okay, which was in violation of the rules of judicial conduct. Okay, so you see this is the request that Judge Diener ordered and that Mr. Lesenby signed. This is Tobe Lesenby saying that he did indeed file this request, but you see he omitted the part where Judge Diener authors it and asks him to sign it. Okay, and this is the order on the safekeeping, right, where Judge Diener cites the maelstrom of interest from the public and the public's bloodlust for information as being extremely dangerous to all public servants and the judge himself. Okay, so he's crying like a baby. And so because of that, he orders this safekeeping and the transfer to the DOC, where he subsequently ends up in Westville, where he encounters all of these constitutional violations and this mistreatment as a pretrial detainee. Okay, and you see he signs it. And keep in mind, immediately after what happened, he recuses himself from the case because he knew that this was unlawful. And like I said, in here, this is where from that motion to correct error, they are citing that Mr. Diener should have recused himself before signing that safekeeping order because it was unlawful in violation of Rule 310 of the Code of Judicial Conduct and in violation of Rule 2.9 of the Code because he engaged in ex parte communications by helping draft the safekeeping order, okay, and then issuing the safekeeping order. And this is Lesenby, where this is what I read with Rick while he was here, where we discussed how he filed this motion in November 22, or the request, and he admits here that he did not draft this motion, but he presented a similar motion or request. He presented something similar to Judge Diener, and Judge Diener came up or provided this particular document. Look at number 15. This particular document. Okay. And then he says here, who asked you to sign this? Line 6. The court. Who's the court? Judge Diener. Okay. So you see that all of this was done by Lesenby and Diener, and that he also admits that it's unverified and that he didn't offer up any supporting documentation. Okay, no supporting documentation. Okay, so why do I keep going over and over and over? Because it's extremely concerning. To me, this is the absolute most concerning. Like, fuck Ron Logan, fuck Brad Weber, all the shit that they tried to bring up, even the shit about the phone. Listen, all of that was evidence that the defense should have used to impeach the witnesses at trial. They should have brought up the Brad Weber when Brad Weber was there. They should have brought up the Stacey Eldridge information when Stacey Eldridge was there. They, all of that. Burkhardt is right. That's ineffective assistance of counsel, in my opinion. But I'm leaning on her advice, I guess, there, because I do agree with her take on that's evidence that was not new evidence. It's evidence they had. They should have used it, and they obviously were handicapped, but they still did not succeed in using it. They didn't provide really effective assistance in those terms. But most concerning to me is the safekeeping, right? Because keep in mind that we've seen so much consternation about what constitutes a critical stage, and that still is an open-ended question, because I have yet to see definitive conclusions on that, really. And I've been scouring is what is the technicality of what is considered a critical proceeding. Because if this proceeding was a critical stage, technically, then it should be no question. Okay. If it's open to interpretation, well, you know what this judge is going to do. But what's the fact of the matter? Well, in my opinion, it's this. It's that this is critical because this is ultimately what landed Richard Allen in Westville, where all of the problems occurred. Remember, in Westville is where he went into this extreme physical and mental deterioration in April and May, particularly of 2023, which is the exact time he got these confessions. We know the majority of those alleged confessions didn't even happen. There were not 63 confessions or whatever. There was more like 4 confessions. There were other confessions that did not match at all with the manner of the crime. And we know that. Okay. We also know that he was being treated by a Delphi maniac fangirl, Dr. Monica Walla, which was inappropriate in and of itself. Okay. But all of that, and not to mention the 2 guards, Jones and Robinson, who were both Odinist, who had Odinist altars on their social media, wore Odinist patches on their uniforms. One has an Odinist tattoo. Okay. They were allegedly threatening to kill Richard and his family based upon Rick Allen's own statements that they were going to kill him. Who were they? The guards with the Odin patches. He also was continuously asking, is my wife alive? Is my wife okay? Is my family alive? Is my family okay? So it appears that it wasn't just, remember, Robert Baston wrote several times. Okay. And actually, I want to read that because you guys are not going to believe this. So there's something about Baston that I never really focus on, but I want to, because this particular excerpt right here, guys can't be fucking slipping. There is a very serious issue of defendant Richard Allen, other inmates, and myself being exposed to dangerous, toxic, secondhand smoke inmates in Westville, smoking K2, synthetic marijuana, that is affecting health and mental health. I have submitted many grievances concerning the dangerous, toxic, secondhand K2 smoke. Okay. Hey, what's another quote from this? What's another quote? Oh, here's another one. Listen to this one. Another quote from Mr. Baston. Officer Quentin Davis tells Sergeant Brandon Williams to hold me up while Officer Quentin Davis violently punches me in the ribs and stomach, breaking my ribs. And former officer, now Sergeant Motts, kneed me in the face while corrupt Westville Correctional Facility warden John Gallipo and mental health provider Dr. Monica Walla watched the beatdown. There's another one, Prof. That's not even it. Oh, what's the other one, Prof? Here, this one. Listen to this quote. There are corrupt officers, ranking officers, calling Richard Allen a kid killer, teasing him that he has a visit from his family, phone is ringing, when it's not. Inmates in cells A1, 102, Logan Osborne, A2, 207, inmate Riley, inmate cell A2, 204, and A2, 205, threatening to kill Richard Allen, telling him to kill himself. And these inmates have made these comments in front of Warden John Gallipo, ranking officers and officers. The staff has been recorded on camera making these threats, and inmates suggesting to him to kill himself, and Gallipo has done nothing about it. And there's even more. This is the last one I'll read for you from this, but this shit is unbelievable. John Gallipo does not allow the Christian Amish church group called Christmas Behind Bars to pass out Christmas snacks because Warden Gallipo is the leader of a pagan white nationalist group called Odin. The corrupt staff and officers here at Westville facility and other Indiana DOC facilities wear Odin and Punisher patches on their uniforms. The corrupt staff and officers that wear Punisher patches is a group of good old boys that assault, torture, and abuse and mistreat inmates. I submitted a grievance to the IDOC Office of Investigations and Intelligence concerning the Odin and Punisher patches, but the grievance never got processed due to this corruption. So, Prof, what is K2? What is K2? K2. Spice. According to the DEA, from the DEA website, K2 and Spice are just two of the many brand names or trade names for synthetic designer drugs intended to mimic THC. Spice, K2, Red Dawn, Paradise, Demon, Black Magic, Spice, Mr. Nice Guy, Ninja, Dream, Genie, Smoke, Skunk, Serenity, Yucatan, Fire, Scooby Snacks, Crazy Clown. That's according to DOC. I mean, not DOC, DEA. DEA. That's from the DEA. So they're smoking Spice. Think about it. They're in Westville smoking Spice. The secondhand smoke is going into Robert Baston's cell and Richard Allen's cell. Did you catch that? Do I need to read it again because people deny reality? There is a very serious issue of defendant Richard Allen, other inmates, and myself being exposed to dangerous, toxic smoke from inmates in Westville. Smoking K2, synthetic marijuana, Spice. So let me ask you this. Richard Allen is in solitary confinement. He's being threatened with murder from the guards, the other inmates, in all the cells around him, also threatening to kill his wife and family. He's losing weight. Obviously, the mental trauma or stress, the anxiety of being put in uh, suicide watch in solitary is extreme mental anxiety and stress you're going to undergo. So he's undergoing this stress. He's losing weight. He's being threatened with fucking death. He's being called a kid killer. He's told to kill himself. They're shining the lights 24/7. The lights are on. They're slamming the doors. They're screaming and yelling at all hours. It's affecting him. He's already on Prozac. Now, Manakawala is giving him the Haldol injections. He's inhaling spice or K2 or whatever you want to call it that the other inmates are smoking in there. And you wonder why he looked the way that he did when his attorneys visited and took that photograph, and why he lost that weight, and why he was delirious. Remember when I read Yellow's notes, okay, so one of the things I love reading here is Yellow's notes. Let me read those to you again really quick. Because the really concerning part of these notes. Because remember, we couldn't be there and we have to pay thousands of dollars for a transcript, right? But notice the verbiage here. What's really going on with Rick Allen, according to these notes. And this was from Manakawala. You know, these are from Manakawala's words, right? She says, she acknowledged Rick slept and ate on the floor. Rick said there's a problem with rats. Walla found it distressing. Other inmates were telling Rick kill himself, calling him a baby killer. He was in a suicide smock with me, which means almost no clothing. Okay, basically no clothing, sleeping on the floor, eating on the floor. There's rats, blah, blah, blah. She says, in March of 23, he was quoted as saying, "I don't feel right." She called him poor, critical, deteriorating. On April 1st, documented suicidal ideation and delusions. She observed insomnia, poor appetite, hopelessness, low self-esteem. On April 2nd, called him more critical. Involuntary medication was administered, emergency. He had head injury and self-harm. On April 13th, she notated a grave disability, observed consuming feces, considered another round of involuntary medication via injection. By April 21st, she was talking about his deteriorating mental state and his competency to stand trial. On May 3rd, he said, "I want to confess," and she discussed it with him. Okay, on May 18th, May 12th, she noted Rick's disorganized thinking had accelerated. On May 18th, he had a man down incident. By May 22nd, depression was at its peak. Physiological symptoms included trembling, stuttering, buckling knees, bulging eyes. There's another quotation I'm looking for that I don't have here. But I don't even need to read anymore. You don't need to read anymore, okay? Oh, she says, April 23rd, lost weight. On April 23rd, it tanked, not healthy. He made conflicting statements. Want to kill my family and friends and myself. I don't want to die. Too much of a coward. He experienced a seizure on May 3rd. Okay, there's more I don't even want to read. But do you get the picture here? Now, the smoke and spice. Robert Baston's writing in saying, holy shit. When did he write that letter? Let's go back to the date of that letter. Okay, that letter, November 2023. That letter is dated November 23rd, 2023. November 23rd, 2023 is the date of that letter. Which means prior to November 23rd, they had been smoking spice in the vicinity of Richard Allen's cell. And Robert Baston was so concerned about it, he was writing in saying, yo, he's got a problem here. They're smoking spice. It's toxic. And like I said, he's going under all the anxiety. He's already on Prozac. Now he's on Haldol. Now he's eating his feces. He's rolling around in urine, blah, blah, blah. There's rats. He wants to do himself in. They're telling him to do himself in, calling him a baby killer. And then on top of that, he's inhaling this secondhand spice smoke. Why am I going over and over and over and over it? Because I just feel that people don't understand. And the way that the troll farm gaslights about it, it's like pre-trial detainee. How is that right? How is any of that right? Like I said, if Judge Diener wrote that safekeeping request for Tobe Lesenby, then had Tobe sign it, handed it in to himself, get it? Then he goes ahead and issues the order with zero evidence backing up, no evidence to back it up. Don't you think that the Court of Appeals needs to do something about that situation? And because as I've said so many times, if he had not been in Westville, those confessions would have never happened. Those confessions are the only reason that the jury decided unanimously to convict him. If it would not have, without those confessions, there would have been no conviction. So if you just look at the road goes from Benjamin Diener directly to unanimous guilty verdict, which is why he recused himself immediately after signing that shit. He fucking knew it. And trust me, you don't think that there was some backroom meeting about Westville? I guarantee you that the head of the DOC, that this was not by chance. It wasn't like, hey, we're just going to remand him over to the possession of DOC. DOC is going to do what they want. No. I guarantee you there was a conversation or several. Are we going to be able to put him in Westville? Look, we're going to hand him over to you. You put him in Westville, okay? Because Westville, we got shit locked down. Remember, Baston says Gallipo's the leader of the Odids. Anyway, I'm trying to make my argument here, which is just logic. You know, it's not that I'm trying to convince you of anything or reaching. I'm not reaching. I'm just showing you where my logic ties in, like it stitches together all of these separate facts. Stitch. We got a whole cloth that leads directly to unanimous guilty verdict. And it starts with this Westville, putting him in Westville. And it's unfortunate. Like I said, we're here for Abby and Libby. Do you think we want a false conviction based on false confessions, based on false imprisonment, based on false claims in a PCA? Like, how is that justice for two little girls who are not here to defend themselves? And that's the show, y'all. I can't go any longer. That's my contribution for today. I just want to thank Rick Snay so much for coming in, dropping in, giving us a little visit. I'm going to make a post when this show's over. I'm going to make a community post giving you these excerpts from that hearing on the safekeeping from, was it June? Let's see, get the date right. June 15, 2023. I'll give you my highlights in a community post so you can take a look at it. But I do appreciate you all for coming. Like I said, this is called Breaking News Discovery, Discovering Discovery. I think it's really, really interesting here that we've got all of this video evidence, all of these phone dumps, all of these other devices that have been rumored about for years that we now know to be true. How you like them apples? So we are just discovering what's in discovery. And it's very interesting. I think more will come of it. Anyway, I want to thank you so much. Let's thank the people who are in the live chat, especially for being here in the live chat. I really do appreciate them. So we had, let's see. Well, first of all, let me thank the contributors before we even get to that. We had Mr. Mark Ellis with a very generous super chat, and Mr. Tony Hunt and Miss Heather Brown, Dieter, that one dude 75, and M.J. Lewis 1964. And also, Sweet Caroline became a member for the 9th month in a row. So those were our contributors tonight. I want to thank you all so much for contributing, and everybody on the replay. Please be aware that we love your support when you send it. We have Cash App that's tagged here on the channel, and Buy Me a Coffee. We appreciate it if you send. And anyone that did send a Cash App, let me check those real quick. I'm not going to call you out by name because I know you might not want me to, but I have two lovely contributions from Cash App. So thank you to the two individuals who sent the Cash Apps. I appreciate your contributions and your support. So that's the Cash App. We also have Buy Me a Coffees. I appreciate anyone that sends the Buy Me a Coffees, and also hitting the like and watching the content. I do appreciate all your support. We built this channel to almost 6,000 subscribers. And it's all due to you guys who watch, who hit the like button, who send the support. Thank you for being here for me, because I'm able to be here for you, and then we're all here together as a community. And I do appreciate that so much. And I know that our friends in the community appreciate it too, because we all get along great here. And shout out to True Crime Design, Rick Snay, Joe Lewis, and who am I missing? Everybody that's doing good work. Shout out to everybody who does good work. Appreciate all of them, especially all of us who get harassed to shit. Appreciate all of you. And anyway, and everyone in the chat. So Anna Paula, Heather Brown, Amy. Oh yeah, my mods, especially Amy and Heather Brown and Kayla. And we got 5 Green Acres, Asphalt Salt, Sally, Kelly, Mino Dino, Truth Seeker, Sweet Dude Shibby, Jamie, Chevy Killer 306. What's up, Chevy Killer? Digital, Tracy Thornton, Rambo Bambo, 5 Green Acres, aka Radar. Thank you, aka Radar. We got 4 Pits. What's up, 4 Pits? 4 Pits across America. Please subscribe to his channel. Okay, 4 Pits right here, and subscribe to Rebecca 1965. What's her name? We got Rhonda Holton, Lisa. Who else is in here? Who's Your Daddy? TJ Bits, Rebecca Ann 1965. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, there she is. Subscribe to her too. Miss K. There you go. Psychoactive chemical upload in the brain and multiple drugs to his brain fried. Yeah, plus the anxiety on top of all that. Look at polydrug administration without proper drug transfer and medical withdrawal. Yeah. Why is that allowed for a pre-trial detainee? Just ask you that. Ask yourself that question. There needs to be a law. Like I've constantly said, I want a law called Allen's Law. Allen's Law. You could never, ever do this again to another pretrial detainee. Ever. Ever. All right. Allen's Law. Let's see. Ashley Lauren, what's up? Heavy Metal Rehab. Housebroken, Possum Friend. I don't want to miss anybody. Rick Snay, go subscribe to him too if you're new to the Delphi community. Van Via, what's up, Van Via? We got Jamie, Truth Seeker, Jalen, V. All right, Tammy Martin, what's up, Tammy? Kate U. Candy M. Hey, Christina, what's up, Christina? Sleuthy Goosey, what's up, Sleuthy? Go subscribe to her. Pert Innit, Kate U, and listen, Fur Baby Daddy, anyone I've missed, it's because I'm going pretty far back in time. And anyway, I'm all burned out. Laura Naran, Chevy Killer, Dirty Diana, Noe Amos, go subscribe to him. Anyway, there's all kind of people. If you want me to say hi to you, just go ahead, throw your name up in the chat real quick, and I'll say hi on the way out. But we're getting out of here. Okay, we got Cora Rich. What's up, Cora Rich? What's up? Who else is in here? Yeah, I've seen you. Okay, I've seen you all. Good. So we're good, man. We're out of here. It's been a nice show. Like I said, I try to look at the things to be grateful for and to look forward to. And for me, McClellan giving up these details and trying to prove his point so badly, it's a good thing. So these photos of the phone, it's a good thing. This receipt for the discovery that was provided January 30th, 2024, it's a good thing. It's all available to you. I'm going to try to put as much of it as possible on the community wall or community posts for you to see. Subscribe to both channels because I do different community posts on each channel. So I got the Prof True Crime and the Prof channel. So we have both channels. Subscribe to both if you'd like. I'd like to get as many subscribers on the backup channel as I have on the main channel. That would be nice. And please hit the like. And anyway, it's been a good night. It's been a good night. We're finishing a little early tonight. It's nice to be finished early some nights. I get to share the time with my little young one. So that's all we got. And God bless everyone. Hug your kids, hug your wife. And again, special thank you to those on the Cash App. Appreciate the love tonight. Okay, so we'll see you later. I'm going to leave the chat open for 5-10 minutes so I can get in there and say hi to you guys. But I'm out of here I'm getting off this damn screen. Okay, so see you guys later. Good night.